Hey guys, so before we begin this issue, we just kind of wanted to take a moment and discuss the passing of great influence for all of us, someone that impacted our childhood and has been with us pretty much all through adulthood, pretty much. The passing of Jason David Frank was announced earlier today as of recording. The news broke out early in the morning through rumors and then was officially announced by outlets closer towards like 9-10 a.m.
Yeah.
It was an unfortunate thing. We don't know what happened exactly, and out of respect for the family, we don't want to assume anything either, given that the release of the information was actually due because the family was holding on to the information for personal reasons, so we want to respect that. But more than anything, we want to pretty much just discuss quickly what Jason David Frank did to inspire us, what he meant to us, and how we grew up with him essentially through basically Power Rangers and the influence he had there. We have with us our guest, which we'll be introducing in the main show in a little bit, Christian Rainwater.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything that maybe you want to talk about?
Power Rangers was my first nerdum. It was a nerdum without me even realizing it was being, that's what it was. I was 2 years old, 3 years old when I was like super hardcore into Power Rangers. At my second birthday party, a Blue Ranger showed up and I flipped out. You know what I mean? But at first, I liked the Blue Ranger because he was blue. But as I got older, I realized Tommy was the Ranger.
Yeah.
He came in as the quote unquote bad guy as the Green Ranger, and then later became the coolest color of all, the White Ranger. Like seeing him in the movie, seeing him with the ninja costume, seeing him go into the later seasons when he was older, and then finally seeing him show up in that Power Rangers reboot. Him and Kimberly were like everything to me. He was who I wanted to be. Kimberly is who I wanted to be with. It's just so...
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. And it's just like, I put on my Instagram today that I'll forever remember his "Hia!" Just ingrained in my memory. Yeah, it was the coolest thing as a kid. It's cool now. I mean, I'm almost 30 years old and I still think he was one of the coolest people in the world. And yeah, just honestly, just rest in peace. And, he was amazing. I had the pleasure of meeting him at my first Comic-Con 2013 or so. That's when they started re-releasing a lot of the morphers and a lot of the merchandise, bringing it back because us millennials had money now. And he was there, and I didn't really like say anything to him. He was just in the distance. I didn't want to bug, but I was like, that guy was my hero. He was my hero. I didn't want to bug or anything, but it was nice to know that I was able to at least see him, before today.
Nick?
Yeah, man. I remember being a little kid and immediately going, the coolest Power Ranger is Tommy. Tommy is the coolest because not only did Tommy just look awesome in the green suit and everything else, Tommy was the number one Power Ranger that could just mop the floor with all the other Power Rangers. He was just that good. He was so amazing that he could just walk. Coolest moment in Power Rangers has to be the moment that he walked into the Megazord and just whooped everyone's butt.
Yeah.
And just
Threw everyone out.
He just threw everybody out and then destroyed their Megazords. And it was so cool. He was a great villain, but he was also a great hero, and he had a full hero's journey of not feeling that he was worthy and then going into eventually leading the team and eventually coming back as a mentor figure and showing these future generations what it means to be a ranger. And he was a great martial artist, and he was he really did shepherd the actual Power Rangers franchise for as many years as it's been out. For the last 30 or so years that the Power Rangers have really been popular in mainstream media, I feel like the number one champion of Power Rangers, because did he have problems with the studios back then? Did he have problems with the way they used to make them? Everything else? Yes, he had a lot of problems with it. But he understood the power of the Power Rangers and what it did for kids and what it did for young adults. And he really did embrace the persona of Tommy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was also a huge fan of his fans. He loved his fans, and he could really, you know, like Christian said, I remember seeing him over at a con. I didn't get a picture with him, but, you know, I remember yelling out to him, going like, Tommy, Jason, you're awesome. And I remember specifically, he turned around and he's like, yeah, and he was always down to like do a morph stance or do anything else or promote other things for other Rangers. He was such a cool guy. He was so cool. And this is really hard. This is, you know, two in 2 weeks, man.
Rene?
Yeah, definitely. Same here, where it's another person that I'll never get to meet. Kevin Conroy was the person I never got to meet, and then now Jason David Frank is the one that I'll never get to meet. And I think that's what strikes me hard, is that, you know, I've always those are like there's like another person, but I don't want to say their name in case something happens. But like,
Yeah, no.
It was Betty White, man. I got a hard thing to tell you.
There were a few people that I wanted to meet in my life, and he was obviously one of them, because he impacted my childhood very, very personally too, as well. Because, you know, when I think of Power Rangers, obviously Tommy is the pivoted ranger that you think of. You know, is the Power Ranger when you're watching as a kid, you know, and that he's like that awesome dude that, you know, he knew karate also as well too. So you see him fight in the show. He's doing everything. He's doing his own stunts and stuff like that. He's doing all the moves.
Yeah, man, he's a black belt in multiple martial arts.
He's a badass. And, you know, and then just seeing him, and I think what like was really cool is that we get to see him progress in the series as well too. We get to see him from starting out as the 6th Ranger and then finally becoming like the pivoted leader of all the Rangers, you know, in Zeo, Turbo, even in Dino Thunder, he was a mentor, but he still took charge at certain moments and stuff like that. Like, he's the mentor you want if you're being a Power Ranger and stuff like that. And it was really cool. He was an amazing person, and I'll just, yeah, it just sucks.
He was the number one person that I remember, even if you saw the specials, I remember as soon as you saw Tommy Oliver like pull a cloak off, or like you see him jump down and you hear the yeah, and then he comes down. Like, I remember hearing that like as he jumped and he would land, and you'd be like, oh, it's Tommy, and immediately you were like, oh, you gonna get it?
Yeah.
Oh, you messed up. You brought Tommy out. They brought the A-team now.
I did have a friend that was nice enough, and I had the Soul of the Dragon trade paperback. I had that, and I gave it to my friend because he went to a sign. He got it signed.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm really happy that I at least have that. I at least have that in my collection.
I don't have anything signed by him. I wish.
That was the one thing, because he asked me. He goes, "I'm gonna go to a signing, and I know you can't go because I'm working that day." And he's like, "I'll get you something signed." And I was like, "Oh, okay," because he knows how much of a Power Ranger fan I am. And I'm like, "There's only one thing that I want signed. It's that Soul of the Dragon trade paperback." It's a great story as well too, about how Tommy's like at the final end, and his son has been taken by some group of thugs and stuff, and he tries to save his son, and then he only has 4 morphs left in his morpher, and he starts morphing into his past selves and stuff like that. Cool. So he uses the White Ranger, then he uses the Zeo one, and he saves the green one for his son to use. And it was so good. It was a beautiful story. It was a good story.
I think I'm on the same boat as you, Rene, that I'll never get. I never got the chance to meet him, and it sucks because I like, you know, like everyone here, I grew up with Power Rangers. I had a Power Rangers birthday themed party when I was like maybe 4 or 5, and I remember like I was super obsessed with them, that my mom and my dad always got me the toys, and that was like one of the only shows that was like that had violence that my parents approved of.
Did you have the toy where like the head flipped?
Yes, I did. I had the Red Ranger, and I had the Black Ranger and Blue Ranger, and I think I had the White Ranger too.
I had the green and pink one. Yeah.
Just because I know you used to watch Dragon Ball Z in Spanish, did you used to watch Power Rangers in Spanish?
No, I watched it all in English, but I was the kid that always did the you know, whenever you did something cool, you did ha!
Yeah.
Explosions in the background. I always did that as a kid.
Did you guys practice the morph?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did as a kid.
Oh yeah, are you
definitely.
kidding me? I think for me, what this passing hurt the most. Kevin Conroy will always be, you know, a great influence because he's a voice actor. He's the voice of Batman, like we've all said, right?
Yeah.
But Jason was like the living, real incarnation of what Power Rangers is. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be getting what we're getting now. Like, the guy pushed and made the lore happen. He made Power Rangers still exist what, 30 years later?
Mhm.
And, you know, he was very hardcore into trying to produce really good lore. Like, for me, the most modern lore piece that I really like is Lord Draken. When
Yeah.
he has to access,
he loved that
he
story.
loved that storyline. It was
Yeah.
so cool because it didn't have that kind of like grotesque violence that we all want and all that stuff. It had like a cool storyline where the Green Ranger's evil power had something else other than just existing
Yeah.
in Mighty Morphin.
I loved how
And-
he was all for that storyline
He
because it
was.
painted
Yeah.
Tommy in like a very dark way.
He was. I mean, all I have to say, because it hurts, and I don't want to cry as I keep talking about it, so I'm just gonna keep it plain and simple. He will be missed. He is loved amongst us all, and he is amongst one of the many influences in our life that make us who we are. Because if it wasn't for people like him who continue to push for the stuff that we grew up with, and, you know, don't make it seem like we're weird nerd losers for
Yeah.
loving Power Rangers
Yeah.
in our late 20s, you know.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for people like him, we wouldn't be here doing what we do.
Definitely.
And, you know, to Jason David Frank and his family and all his friends, just know that people like us will miss him a lot. We love him, and thank you for everything that you've done.
Also, really quick, I know that we have cons coming up and we have a lot of other things happening, and a lot of his friends are going to these cons. Let's be a little bit respectful, please.
Yes.
You know, this is somebody that they grew up with, they trained with, they grew into adulthood with, you know. Let's not ask any really inappropriate questions to them while we're at these
Yeah,
cons.
they're grieving as well too.
Yeah, they're grieving. As much as you feel like you're grieving and you want to get that answer from them, remember they just lost a friend,
Yeah.
and you know that's so hard. I mean, it's so hard, and it's hard to imagine on how much that hurts.
Yeah.
So please, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on Facebook or anything like that, please send out, if you're going to say anything, please send out positive wishes to him, his friends, and his family. And when you see some of these cast members that are in person that have, you know, really worked with him, let's be respectful, okay?
So from all of us here at Keeping Up with the Nerds, thank you again for everything. And with that, on with the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do. Yeah. Yeah. That's not how you spell Google. Da-da-da-da.
You happy, Nick? You hurt us both. Ow. Ugh.
Less happy, more pleased with myself.
You know what, Nick? I'm tired of your snarky little remarks. Why are you such a smartass?
Because you allow me to.
Well, Nick, if you think you're such a smartass, why don't you and I have a little quiz match?
Sure, why not? It's not like you could ever beat me at a quiz match. You know what? I am so confident right now that I could definitely beat you. I'll let you pick somebody to be your champion.
Fine. I pick rainwater.
What's the topic?
Disney.
Oh man.
Rainwater. Come on in.
Hey bud, yeah. How do you know them?
And welcome to Disney Trivia with my two contestants, Christian and Nick.
Doing this because I shot you, huh? Yeah. Because I hit you. If I get out of this, I'm gonna do so much worse. I think the podium's breaking. Come here.
This is a pretty simple game. Rules are very simple. Each contestant will answer 3 questions, handpicked by moi. And the loser will have a chance to answer 1 bonus question to possibly win the whole game.
How's that any fair? I don't know what the questions are. Why am I tied up? This is ridiculous.
Please hold all your questions until all your questions have been asked. Now, contestants, are you ready?
No.
All right, Christian, here's your first question. What was Walt Disney's first original character?
That would be Oswald the Rabbit.
That is correct.
Yes!
All right, Nick, here is your first question.
Who was the original voice of Mickey Mouse?
I don't know. Ronald Reagan?
Unfortunately, that is wrong.
Oh, why? Oh, is that arsenic? What is this?
Christian, second question. Where was Disneyland first built?
That would be Anaheim, California.
That is correct. Nick, here is your second question. What record does Walt Disney hold?
You put electrodes in the chair? This is some sick sick! I don't know, man. What was the question? That's the answer, right? No, yeah! This is cruel!
Christian, here's your third and final question. What is the mascot for the Disney company?
That would be Mickey Mouse.
That is correct.
Got you.
I thought we were friends!
All right, Nick, here is your third and final question. What was the last film Disney greenlit before his death?
Land himself!
Looks like Nick is our loser for tonight, but he does have a chance to answer a bonus question.
Ow!
Nick? Well, it looks like that does it for tonight, everyone. Christian, you're our winner. How do you feel?
I won, right? So I can take this? Okay.
No.
Recording at 12920 Philadelphia Street, Whittier, California, at Undercity Comics. Keeping Up with the Nerds, issue number 124. My name is Nick Valero.
This is
Hey.
Bryan.
You pointed at me. I'm going off of you, man. I was waiting for you to say Bryan, but you pointed and I was like, all right.
And Rene.
And Rene.
And welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Chaotic as ever.
I hate you both.
You know what I was worried about this entire time?
Whether
You
or not we
not-
get the number right?
Yes.
I did.
No, he got it right.
He got it right, but I was afraid because you were just like 124, and I'm like, you either shot a really good shot in the dark,
No, because
or you counted.
The funny thing is that I did it at him, and he was looking down, and I was like, 1, 2. And then he wasn't paying attention, and then I was like, I think it's 124. I'm gonna go for it. So
I'm sorry. You know what? Here. I'm sorry. I won't interrupt you.
Yeah.
You can go second in
I
the
can go
outro.
second in the
Is that
outro.
okay?
Okay, yeah.
So-
All right, perfect.
So, adding on to our month long of guests, YouTube regular podcast listeners, you don't see him in the studio, but he is in the studio. We do have a special guest from Tramin Podcast. It is Christian Rainwater. How you doing, buddy?
What's up? What's up, everybody?
Hey, Christian Rainwater. You guys are on the Tramin Podcast. It's a Disneyland centric podcast. Right?
Yeah. So we're a long form weekly Disneyland podcast. It's myself and my partner Kirk Bagdasarian.
Yeah.
And we kind of just Joe Rogan it every week.
That's interesting.
So
Wow.
basically, kind of how we run it.
Yeah. More or less. What was it? I felt really bad because we moved. Kurt could have been here, but then I thought about it and I was like, I don't know how we're gonna fit him. Like,
Get another person
We
here.
could have
I
made
get
it happen.
We could've.
squeeze him behind you, or we get you out of there and you go in the back.
I'll
No
put Kirk
camera
on my
you.
I'll put Kirk on my shoulders next.
Look,
time.
people don't need to see you. You can
So-
just be right there.
No,
You could be the man behind it.
my ego won't allow it. Like tense, I'll be in the corner, just going like,
Guys, I'm still here.
I don't want to be a ghost.
Christian, where can people find you?
You can find me at Trammon.com, where you can find all of our links, including a, let's see, we have Instagram, which is Trammon Podcast, TikTok, Trammon Podcast. Pretty much everywhere, it's either going to be Trammon Podcast or Trammon. Okay. And you can also email us at ask@Trammon.com.
All right.
Yeah.
Can I just say, you've got a great podcasting voice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's very much like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Good advertisement.
It's a solid one. It's
Yeah.
almost as if he does it a lot.
We've been doing it every day for 2.5 years now.
Yeah, man.
Wait, so your podcast comes out every week?
Sorry, every week, not every day.
Every week.
Yeah.
I was going to say every day. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dang, so what? You're recording like basically every morning or something?
Yeah, no. Every weekend. Usually, we're in the like 2.5 to 3.5 hour mark.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we go kind of long. We talk a lot.
It works to your benefit though, because you do have listeners that do want. They're like, oh my god, why is
Yeah.
it over after an hour and a half? You could have kept talking more.
Yeah, exactly.
And how
We
long?
get you.
I think we're at the point where we have too many segments. Like you guys have, comic bits,
We have
Comic
comic
strips.
strips.
Yeah.
comic strips, and we have like the news. We have a like tasting section where we try Kirk's brother's stuff that he concocts. We have way too many segments now, but it's fun. It's fun.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. All right.
How long have you been doing it?
We've been doing it since March 2020.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dang.
So
Around the
we
same
started-
time as you
We
guys
started
did.
in June 2020.
Did we? Was it 2020 or
20?
2019?
No, it was 2020. It was after a little. No, because we did it after the pandemic.
We'll put it up on the board.
Yeah.
I bought Kirk and I a little like placard that has the exact date, and it's
that's cool.
St. Patrick's Day 2020, so March 17th.
Oh, it was St. Patty's.
Yeah, so now we call it St. Trammon's Day.
We took it over.
Yeah.
It's our day
Yeah.
now.
That's
All
funny.
right. That's cool. So we want to talk more about your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We want to talk more about Disney because that's what your podcast is about, right? Primarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're a huge Disney fan.
Oh yeah.
Disney Pass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Everything.
How often do you go to Disneyland? Would you say?
At least once a week.
Cool.
This past week I did 3 times.
Uh-huh.
I'm probably around the 1 to 2 times a week.
So
You're
more
somebody
than-
who gets their money's worth when you come to the Disney.
Yeah.
Pass,
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I'm paying
Yeah.
for this pass.
He was like-
I'm going.
Yeah.
He saw the price and he was like $1,300. I'm gonna get my money worth.
I have a whole spreadsheet about how many times I have to go. And how,
Wait, are you serious?
I was looking for it last week and I couldn't find it anymore.
Are you serious?
There's a
have it
spreadsheet. Yeah. There's a
somewhere
spreadsheet
out there in a hard drive.
Yeah, for sure. It has how many times I have to go, how much money in food I would have to spend with that discount to make my pass worth. Like it's this whole
make your money
mathematical
back.
thing.
I love it. I like
Which
this. I love
may I
this.
ask which pass holder you are?
I'm the Inspire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have an Inspire and my girlfriend has a Believe.
Okay.
So I pretty much only go Believe days, but I get free parking.
Hey.
Yeah.
So you're the inspired one.
Yeah.
She only believes.
Exactly.
So when
exactly.
so when you guys go to go buy stuff, you're like, babe, I got this.
just Venmo me after.
You're like, you scan mine.
She gets
It's
her card
fine.
out. You're just like slapping it at her head.
You know what's so funny? I went with a bunch of people that don't have passes,
Yeah.
and then we started going to go buy their kids stuff, and they were like, "Hey Nick, you buying anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna buy anything." Why? And they were like, can I use your pass? So I'm just standing at the front
Yeah.
with them, and they're just like, just keep tapping it. Just keep, just keep giving us by the third person, the girl had the code down. Like she was like, oh, okay. And she was just typing it in.
All right, so we're going to talk more about Disney further on into the show, but we do have to. Oh my God, no, I can't
Got some
speak.
stuff
The
to talk
coffee's getting
about.
me. Thank you. We have some stuff to talk about. We've got our segment,
Yes.
just as Christian said. Comic strips.
Yes.
We only got 3 pieces of news today, I think. Right? Yeah, 3 pieces of news.
Not a lot.
Not
but
a lot.
Stuff has happened.
Pretty simple. We've got Twitter on fire again.
Who cares?
So
It's
that
Twitter.
let's go ahead. Let's go quickly discuss that. Okay. So
Twitter.
Elon Musk is still running Twitter.
Twitter's a dumpster fire.
Twitter
really is.
Yeah.
At a certain,
really is.
like honestly, week to week, I'm just kind of like, oh, like you're just putting gasoline now. Like you're not really putting out fires anymore.
Let's be
you're
real,
just
though.
adding more gasoline.
He's kind of not to give him credit because I don't think he did this purposely. I don't think he's doing this on purpose. Apparently, more people are using Twitter now because they're watching the wildfire happen on Twitter.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's kind
Okay.
of like, because he keeps reporting, he's like, Twitter usage has been up exponentially ever since, I took over. And I'm like, probably because
Duh.
people are invested in the fact that you're just lighting fires left and right.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of like when everybody was using Twitter when Trump was in office.
Yeah.
Because it was always that morning wake up where you would wake up and go, what did he say today?
Well, let's see what he said.
What did he say today?
Speaking about Donald Trump, he's back.
He's
His
back.
Twitter's
Yeah.
there.
No tweets yet.
So
No
it's
tweets.
it's like it's
As
like
of today.
It's like the end of Avengers where Thanos makes Thanos makes an appearance.
Yeah.
It's just Donald Trump's Twitter's active again, but no
this
tweets.
is the Trump that won.
I love the idea of thinking of just photoshopping or premiering Trump's face on Thanos, and then when he goes to get the Infinity Gauntlet, you just put it as his phone.
Fine.
And he just goes, fine, I'll do it myself. And like him grabbing it, he's like, if Elon won't burn this thing to the ground, I will.
POTUS. And how many Infinity Stones are there? 5?
5.
Yeah.
So we can just, if someone can do this, a GIF of Thanos picking up the Infinity Gauntlet, but where the
Where the
Infinity
stones-
Stones go,
yeah.
it's POTUS.
Yeah.
I'll do this myself. It just comes back. Dude, I should run for his campaign. I should do his campaign management.
For what?
Just that. Just
Trump's?
hire me for that. Yeah. Just hire me for that one GIF.
Well, that's just because you believe in a lot of things.
No, I don't. Stop, dude.
do
That's
that.
how you get me in trouble at Twitter. I don't want to be targeted.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, I will say though, what's interesting
Oh,
was
I
I
thought,
woke up.
I thought you were going to go like, listen, I don't agree with everything.
What? No.
But
You were like, oh, you messed
No.
up with the butt.
So, do you use Twitter at all? Or
I
no?
do.
Okay,
I
so
do.
did you wake up like probably 2-3 days ago and then start seeing everyone tweet that Twitter was supposed to die that
Oh,
day?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I woke up, I opened Twitter, it's like, yeah, Twitter's dying. And I'm like, what the hell just happened, dude?
Yeah.
It was like less than 12 hours. First of all, Twitter was like, okay, people getting fired left and right, which isn't cool.
yeah.
And now everyone's saying it's dying.
It's dead.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's about to implode.
Yeah.
It's gone 24 hours from now, and then it's still there.
Listen, man, it's got leukemia. He's in remission right now. It's really sad. but
It'll, it's still there.
It's still there.
It's still there. Whatever. I mean,
it's kind of like the Thor Kratos fight,
Yeah.
where you're just like, you don't die until I say you do.
Oh, dude, that part got me.
wait, don't, because he hasn't played
I
God
haven't
of War
played it
Ragnarok.
yet, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was like,
yes.
wait, Thor and Kratos? Who's
Yeah, they
Kratos?
fight.
yeah.
It was hinted at the end of the first one.
Where
Yeah.
Thor was gonna show up. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't spoil it for Renee. Not yet.
I
not
mean, I'm
spoiling
assuming
anything.
we have to fight Thor in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Until you kill
wait,
him,
we
we don't
fight
know.
Thor?
I feel like, how we've had Miss Marvel watch, we've had She-Hulk watch, we should probably do Twitter watch. See, count down like Doomsday Clock. We should do Doomsday Clock on that.
It's okay.
It's okay.
See
You just leave it alone.
See the greatest spoiler for God of War is that he was the bigger man. He walked away, and then that's the end of the game. He just
that's fine.
he just
Handshake,
goes
friendship.
he just
Done.
goes like, you know what? It was a misunderstanding. And then he just walks away.
In not so Fires of Hell kind of news, Silk, I would say kind of like delisted character from the Spider-Verse, even though she's
She's
kind
a
of
mutant. She's not mutant.
No.
She is a clone of Peter Parker.
no, she was
Or-
bit by the same radioactive
Yeah.
spider as Peter Parker.
But she's more potent with her powers.
yes,
And aren't they attracted to each other?
yes,
When they're next to each other, yes.
Yes, they shoot out pheromones that are
And
like
she can shoot out her own webs. She doesn't need like web
Shooters?
shooters. They just come out her fingers and stuff like that.
Dude, I loved
Fingers,
her.
okay.
Yeah, dude, I loved her. She was cool. And then Marvel said like she's not selling enough, so they made her a delisted character now, which
Yeah,
is a
they didn't-
shame.
They didn't push her enough. Yeah.
No, I love her. She's
She
cool.
was cool. Yeah.
But she's getting her own Amazon series.
Wow.
pretty dope.
Live action or
We don't know.
I would,
Okay.
if it's from Into the Spider-Verse, I would imagine it's cartoon or it's animated.
I
I
think,
think it's an animated.
You think so?
I think it's gonna be animated.
in which I feel that that's the way to go with these kind of D-list heroes or villains. I think show that there is a market for them.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit easier to do an animated movie instead of doing like a live action.
No, it's not easier.
No,
it
I
looks
mean-
better.
It
well,
looks
no, but
better.
that's what they did with Invincible. They were
Yeah.
gonna make it live action, but they thought, oh, we'll have a much cheaper budget if we just did
It's
animation.
because it's impossible to do. Could you imagine all that destruction
No,
inside
that's
of
true.
All that
in
blood.
Invincible?
I'm so glad they went
Yeah.
animated on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you imagine like it just? I mean, all they would need to do is just clip in the scenes from Man of Steel. And
Just with blood. Just with blood.
Just add in
Yeah.
the scenes from Man of Steel, crop out Henry Cavill, put in J.K. Simmons, and you're fine, and
Yeah.
you're done.
It's not, because you got to watch out when you say like it's not easier, because animation's not easy, but it's cleaner. Because if you were to do a live action Silk, right? You would have to deal with CGI and probably putting in like actual sets. And if you're not doing sets, you have to work with some green screen and you have to work those effects into place, and they might not look as good.
Yeah, especially if she's gonna be web swinging. You know, she's gonna move very acrobatic like.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when they're eventually going to bring the volume into Spider-Man movies.
That would be great.
Because I feel like for web slinging, the volume
That
would be sick.
interesting.
Yeah, that would. Probably the next trilogy, I would imagine.
That's what I would imagine. Because could you imagine them just setting up a rig, and then
Yeah.
him web swinging through the
I feel
volume?
like Tom Holland would have too much fun with that. Like,
Well, because all you'd have to do is just kind of like suspend him, and
Yeah.
then he just does this.
yeah.
And then you just kind of wave his hips back and forth with some kind of machinery, or like two dudes just.
Pinata style.
And then the volume just. Oh God, we dropped him.
It's interesting. I wasn't expecting to hear that though, that they would be producing a Silk show, because
Yeah.
like I said, she kind of lost traction in the comic books. Like she pops in
Yeah.
and out, maybe like 2 pages, and then like pieces out whenever like the Spider Family comes in. That's it.
I do feel that they're taking more chances with these no-named or lesser-known heroes, especially when it comes to like animation.
Thanks to James Gunn. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean on both ends.
Yeah. Oh yeah, forget now. DC.
Yeah, DC.
That's gonna be awkward.
Why? You think? Why you think?
No,
Kevin-
because he now got named the head of DC, the DC Studios, or I forget what it is that they
Yeah, it's
call
DC
it.
Studios.
DC Studios, but then the holiday special's coming out, in
And
about,
then
like, a
Guardians
week.
3.
and then Guardians 3.
Yeah.
So it's like you're promoting James Gunn, but this is the face of DC now. So
Well,
I don't know how Marvel's gonna go about that.
well, no, because he even said too when I got the job, the first person that called me was Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they're cool
Congratulate me.
about it, but again, it's
Yeah.
not a smart business move to basically be promoting your rival.
competitor.
Well, I
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
because
He's
like
contracted.
he's no longer he's done with his projects now. He fulfilled everything from his contract.
Yeah.
So it's like no more. You know, it's like he's not coming
From
back.
the mind of the Suicide Squad. Guardians 3.
Can you imagine? From the big successful DC film, The Suicide Squad, James Gunn.
Now comes a holiday romp by James Gunn.
Now DC head, James Gunn.
All right, and moving on to our last piece of news, a little bit, no, I wouldn't say a little bit, it's actually pretty serious, and hopefully things work out to his benefit and he comes out well. Chris Hemsworth just announced that he is taking a break from acting because, can you word this for me? Because you said it best.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember how it was, that
Oh, he has the
predisposition? Is that what you said?
yeah.
Or?
Well, no, he has the gene of getting early Alzheimer's, because they come from both of his parents.
Yes.
He's got
Yes.
one from one certain strand from his dad and one certain strand from his mother, but
It's
both-
highly likely.
it's a high risk.
Wow.
He's
Yeah.
he's now.
So he found that out, and
He found that out while working on a show. Didn't he?
Limitless.
Limitless.
Yeah, that's
the,
crazy.
The new show that just released on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Mm.
It was supposed to be him conquering the elements and doing like awesome, like these extreme sports
Yeah.
or extreme kayaking and like in the harshest weathers and everything else.
Yeah.
It's like a Nat Geo show, right?
It is.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what it
is.
is. Yeah.
And I thought it was. I saw like an episode or two of it. It's very interesting.
Well, did you see the
It's
clip
very,
of when he
very
finds
interesting.
out? Like the clip, I saw the clip on TikTok. Of when
No,
he
I
finds
didn't.
out.
Oh, it's on the show?
It's on the
Oh,
show.
whoa.
That's what
Wait,
I was.
what?
Really, yeah, it's on the show. They put it in, which is really interesting because you see his face when he hears the news, and he's kind of like, the doctor's telling him basically all the medical marble jumbo side of it, and he's like, well, what do you mean by that? And he's all, basically, you have the gene to get early Alzheimer's in your life. And he's like, and he's not saying anything. He's not He's just emotionless. You can tell he's really thinking about.
Well, because when
It's
he was
hitting him.
when he was doing these extreme sports, he had to keep on he had to keep on doing checkups.
Yeah.
Because of like the weather and everything else.
Going to high altitudes.
High altitudes just
going
to
below
make
sea
sure
level.
he's staying healthy.
But that's, I mean, because he's producer of the show, right?
Yeah.
So that was his choice to leave it in
Definitely.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I think he because it's something that he.
Raise awareness for.
Yeah,
there
because
could be awareness for that as well.
Yeah,
too.
because also not a lot of people talk about Alzheimer's. A lot of times when people get Alzheimer's, they just kind of shove them in a home and they go, okay, well, that's where they live now. And there's not a whole lot of stuff. I mean, they're working on cures for Alzheimer's and they're making advancements, to slow it down. But nobody really talks about it anymore. It's the same thing with, what was it, with Parkinson's or, anything else.
It was hard news because I don't know. It kind of came out. I feel like a lot of the headlines just kind of, they didn't really report it, not correctly, but they didn't report it right. At least the way I read it, because the way I read it, it was kind of like, oh, he has that gene to contract early Alzheimer's, right?
Yeah.
After finishing the Limitless show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so he's retiring or he's taking a break, and then it kind of made sense that he was taking a break.
At first, initially, I think he said that he was taking a break, but it's more likely that he is basically gonna just take a break on a more permanent stance, as of a long-term, very long-term
indefinite hiatus.
until like maybe either. I feel like the only time he'll come back is like if Marvel needs him for Thor. He will obviously do it. I feel.
Well, he said he wants to do one more Thor.
Yeah.
He said I want to do Thor 5. I'll come back for that, but that'll be my last Thor.
It's funny because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he say that he wouldn't come back as Thor unless Taika was the one who was directing, or
So
was that the other way around?
I think they both said it, but the other thing is that I think that the main reason why he wants to do that is because he wants to send off Thor properly. Like he said, he put Thor in a really happy place. He's finally over his parents. He's finally over everything else, and he's in a happier place with his new stepdaughter. That I would want to say that right now he's kind of like, okay, well, let's send Thor off properly. Let's actually, what does Thor look like when he's truly fulfilled? And I think that would be an interesting story.
It would be.
And also it'd be a very interesting thing of passing the torch on and doing all these other things. So I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Any last thoughts before we close out comic strips?
No.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I could only imagine the news running through his entire family because he has a bunch of brothers and he has a bunch of sisters, and I imagine that would have been a very hard conversation that he would have had to have with everybody.
Because that means that they would have it.
They
too.
would also.
Yeah.
I mean,
He would have to let his family know.
He would have to have that. Well, they would have to still take a test because there's a chance that you don't contract that from your parents. He got it from his parents, so they would all have to go get gene tested in order for us to see whether or not he contracted that gene. The only problem is that if your mom has it and your dad have it, it's most likely you're gonna have the gene.
And that's with Liam Hemsworth just taking the mantle of Gerald.
Yeah. But
So-
but I think there's also a time limit too, like when it usually appears and everything. So I would give it probably like 5 to 10 years, and then they would have a better understanding of whether or not you're going to get it or whether or not you're not and everything else.
Is he the oldest or the middle?
He is the middle child.
He's
I
the middle.
believe.
The short one's the.
The short one
is
is
the
his
oldest.
older. Is his
Short
older
one.
brother. Isn't that David Hemsworth or something? Or?
The Westworld Hemsworth. I don't know.
There's a Hemsworth in Westworld?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not season 1, right?
Yeah. He's in
Yeah.
season 1.
What?
I'm not gonna lie. When you said not season 1, I thought you said not season 1.
No.
And then I was like, what the hell? Like, what are you saying?
They have fused.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that's a huge brain fart.
Why
And
do you
then-
keep what's with you trying to like set me up for these things?
I
man?
didn't.
First of all, you're
That's what
basically
it
telling me
sounded
it's like,
like.
oh, you grew with Trump ideology. Now you're basically saying this. Send me up to get burned, dude.
I don't know, dude. A lot of Mexicans are all down with Trump, so I don't know,
Stop,
man.
dude. I'm not. First of all, I'm not Mexican. We've established this.
All right.
In the lore of the nerds, I'm not Mexican.
Listen, dude, you brown. That's what you need to know. Okay. In case you don't own a mirror.
Okay, before this gets any worse, that concludes the end of comic strips, ladies and gentlemen.
And he's Guatemalan.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Or Colombian. I don't know which one.
Christian. No, stop. So, you run a podcast.
I do.
With
I do.
your co-host. Remind me what his name is?
Kirk. Captain Kirk.
Really? Is that his nickname? Or you just go like
Hey,
Captain
no, I
Kirk?
mean,
That's
some people, like, he has the little Disney tag that says Captain Kirk on it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is what we used to call him back in high school.
Yeah.
Captain Kirk.
So you have questions for Christian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Sure.
So just kind of give us a quick overview before Nick gives you a couple questions here and there. The name of your podcast is
Trammin.
Trammin.
Yeah, Trammin, a Disneyland podcast.
So TRAMMIN.
Yes, apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
Yes, right at the end.
A Disney podcast.
Yeah.
And does it have the little shooting star that goes over the castle afterwards?
It has a tram that just, like, drops you off at the front gate, you know.
It goes right straight to the castle. All right, so what do you talk about on this podcast?
We talk about the Disneyland Resort through and only through our eyes.
Oh.
So we don't talk about, I mean, we do talk about Disney stuff in general, but it's mainly focused on Disneyland. So like this last episode, I did a Disney World episode, but that's a one-off kind of thing. But for the most part, it's just Disneyland things.
Gotcha. Not California Adventure?
In California, the Disneyland Resort. Yeah.
Not the other side. You know, whatever. Them, who cares?
Have you gotten a chance to visit the other Disneylands besides the ones in the States?
No. I originally had a trip completely planned out for Tokyo.
Okay.
And that was May 2020. Yeah.
Like everyone else.
Yep. So I was going to go to Disney Sea and then Disney Tokyo, and those, I hear Disney Sea is like an Imagineer's dream.
Yeah.
Going there. It's one of the, if not the best amusement park in the world. So
I follow this YouTuber. Her name's Rene Scully. She recently moved. Oh, no, not recently. A couple of years back. I met her twice, but she moved to Japan to go live out there, and she did a little vlog of Disney Sea. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I can totally see what you mean. Why
It's
people
insane.
move by that. Yeah. It's like just shows inside the park that you could be physically a part of, quote unquote. It's insane, dude.
And the crazy thing is that Disney Sea originally was planned for Long Beach.
What happened? Where did we mess up?
Euro Disney's what messed everything up, budget constraints, and then the Japanese were like, hey, I think it's the Japanese oil company, something like that. Disney Tokyo is a little different in the sense that Disney doesn't pay for anything there. Another company pays for everything, and they're just giving them permission to use license.
So
license.
they
the
franchised
license.
Disney.
Yeah.
They franchised.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
franchise
Just for that one country.
Just Disney being Disney.
Well, well, knowing the way that Disney is, even though they licensed it, you still, in order for you to get that license, you have to follow all of our rules.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Everything,
sure.
the way we do everything is probably super, super strict.
It's interesting now that I think about it because Brittany, our last guest, was going into those premieres. Disney's just entangled in everything at this point.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's
Everything.
ridiculous. I don't think Lewis mentioned it at all because he was talking about Pokemon and Nintendo and stuff like that. When does Disney get to own that?
Well,
So Universal's got that.
yeah, they have,
That's the issue.
Universal
Do
has-
so when
Yeah.
does Disney take over Universal?
Good question.
That's good money up to Disney.
When do they take over Comcast? You know?
Well,
I've always said the next thing for Disney is anime. Is some kind of anime. Not necessarily Pokemon because that's a Nintendo thing.
Ghibli.
no, honestly, Studio Ghibli is a good chance.
They own distribution rights already of Studio Ghibli.
Rip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it's a good. That's why when what was it? I think it's a Marvel or a Star Wars story that's going to be a Studio Ghibli movie.
They already came out with it last week.
It's Grogu and
it's-
the Dust Bunny.
Yeah,
Grogu and the Dust Bunnies.
So-
a 3-minute little short.
yeah. I can totally see Studio Ghibli getting absorbed because there's already so much Studio Ghibli.
Absorbed is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
Because
influence.
Studio Ghibli is right now. I think they're owned by Warner Brothers, aren't they?
I think
Studio
so.
Ghibli?
Yeah.
Because it's all over HBO Max.
Yeah, because you can still watch their stuff on HBO.
Which is
Max.
so interesting of
Yeah.
a company being owned by Warner Brothers, but also their distribution is done by a separate company.
Yeah.
Again, you're forgetting that this is like exists everywhere because Hulu has. Well, Hulu is Disney now. They own majority shares.
Yeah, 51% or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something like that. So they have all the FX stuff on there. They have Stars. They have like distribution rights for like a bunch of different production companies, right?
Yes.
But those other production companies that are Disney can also be found somewhere else. So it's like distribution is a whole mess, man.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a monster upon itself.
Yeah. Stuff that we don't want to get into. At some point, Keeping Up with the Nerds will be found on every audio platform and then HBO Max, but we're actually owned by Netflix at some point. I don't know, man. Something weird. So you go to Disneyland practically every week.
I do.
Right? And
I do.
This podcast is a show through the eyes of you guys, essentially.
Right. Like our opinions on things, how we experience certain, new experiences that they have. We talk a lot about food, to tell you the truth.
That's what mostly people do at Disneyland.
Yeah, and that's why like they've really been pushing the past few years, like these food festivals, these special foods that you can only get, at a certain period. They're very limited on a lot of that stuff because that's a way to get pass holders or even just single dayers to come back again.
Yeah.
And one way is definitely food.
So I feel like with your kind of content, it seems oversaturated, but it's not. Because the one thing I've noticed about a lot of Disney content creators is that when they say like, oh, it's through our eyes, or it's like the back end stories of Disney and stuff like that, every perspective is unique.
Yeah.
Because everyone sees and experiences things differently. And it's almost kind of like it's the same bits and pieces of news that you guys are all basically talking about, but everyone kind of gets to go through these experiences differently.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Our main, from what I've gathered over the years, our main target audience, that it just kind of naturally happened, are people that are too far to go to Disneyland weekly, but are close enough that can drive there.
Oh.
So we have a lot of listeners in Sacramento, for some weird reason. A lot of listeners in Arizona, a lot in the Bay Area, a whole lot in the Bay Area.
We were looking at our analytics and we were like, why do we have somebody in Kazakhstan?
Yeah.
Germany,
Oh yeah, it was
Russia.
We have one-
Two
like-
in Russia.
There's
Yeah.
two in Russia, one in Kazakhstan, and then something else. And we were like, how are we hitting this market?
Yes.
Like, what did this guy Google?
Yeah.
And Kirk and I have both like done a lot of Google research, I guess, because of work. Like I've done so much SEO optimization at work, and because of that, we do things like Tramin, which is a completely unique URL, a Disneyland podcast. So if you look up a Disneyland podcast, we're now going to come up. So because of that, we've been able to like grow our audience pretty steadily.
Yeah.
I always, not always, but there's been certain points where I'm like, hey, why don't we buy ads? Why don't we do this? And Kirk's like, no. Let us grow organically, because the people who are organically grown, they're going to stick.
Did you steal all that from him, Nick? Is this none of this is your original
No,
idea?
It's called anybody that's taken a marketing class understands this, or anybody who understands marketing. Okay, so we were talking about it of whether or not you should buy views or whether or not you should grow organically, and that was a huge thing because we had seen there's a lot of podcasts that don't make any sense, where it's like you have 121 subscribers but you have 7,000 views. And that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it doesn't.
numbers wise, I don't know how that works.
So there's one point maybe like 6 months ago or so where I saw our listeners like double, and that's because I went viral on TikTok. I just started posting random videos, and I posted this random video of a ADA accessible ride vehicle on The Little Mermaid, and for some reason I got 150,000 views. For some reason, I have no idea. And then I spend all days working on the next TikTok, trying to properly edit everything, make sure it looks good, and I get 3 views. It's you don't know.
The world of podcast and the world of
Content creation.
content creation is fickle.
It
You
is.
never know what's going to hit.
Yeah, you don't.
And it's so weird because a couple of our things we've gone like, man, this is it. Like this is the
one.
one. Like this is hilarious. Like I could watch this thing.
You guys are the talent.
30
I'm the
times.
editor, man.
Yeah,
I have
no,
to
no,
sit
no,
there
no.
editing late nights and then going like, guys, it's up. This is
That's-
great. And then
yeah.
it's like 20 views. It's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
and
I
then,
get it.
And then we have another one where like we have that one that's 20 views, and then all of a sudden we put up another one and it goes up to 200, sometimes 240, and we're going, what was the difference in this one?
Yeah.
It was almost the same content. What happened? It was almost the same dang thing.
Yeah.
One episode that I think did really well on, and it was kind of a fluke because I'll explain in a minute, but we've had a few guests on the show.
Right.
We've had this guy named Matthew Serrano. who's a director. He did a documentary for this YouTube channel called Defunctland.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a Halix documentary, the band that came out for that was around for one summer. Matthew directed that. He became a really good friend of ours after this. But we had this other guy on 6 months into the podcast. His name is the Disneylanders. He's a lo-fi Disney music creator.
Okay.
And we would use a lot of his music on Instagram stories and stuff like that. And Kirk was like, oh man, his girlfriend was like, oh my, I love this guy. And I was like, I wonder if I can just message him. He had 5,000 followers on Instagram. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, we would do this Disneyland podcast. Would you consider ever coming on the show? He's like, yeah, sure. Just let me know a day and I'll come down. He came down. We recorded. It was a great episode about Disneyland's music. And he had a lot of good insight on it. And because of the way search works, people were looking up the Disneylanders on Spotify and Apple Music and everything. And our episode would start coming up because it was featuring the Disneylanders. Mm-hmm. So because of that, it's our number one episode now.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it's like
just
key words.
It is,
yeah,
for sure.
It's so interesting you say. I feel like with Disney content, there's magic words.
There is.
That you have to say.
There is.
And sometimes they're not as obvious,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for us, since I'm the one that has to make up the titles and everything, I really have to think about what the title should be because you think it's the whole phrase. You think it's
Right.
the entire title. It's not. It's one word.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe Black Panther.
Yeah.
Or it could be MCU. And if it's not MCU, it could be Marvel
Mm-hmm.
or DC.
Well, I remember when I was working in working in the marketing department for a video game for a company, they were specifically telling me hit everything, just hit as much as you can. And I remember going, I don't understand what you mean.
Yeah.
And him and our boss going, I want you to hit every variation possible of this. So he goes, if it's N64, I want you to put N64 as a tag, and then I want you to lowercase the N64.
Yeah.
And then put an N incorrectly and put 64. And then I remember
Instead
there
of
was
the N, put an M.
He did. He goes misspell it.
Every
goes-
letter around the
Yeah.
N key.
Like he goes misspell it too, and then you would get that, or he would put like the title of it, and then he would go and then he would put the title of it, or put the title of it, and then he would do all this, and we would spend probably like half an hour, 45 minutes just mapping out every dumb way you could possibly look this up. And you would get viewership like that because people would type something in, and the closer it is to that tag, the more results it's gonna pop up.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say we game the system or anything. It's just
No, you gamed it. It's fine.
No, I mean that's content creation.
Yeah, you
gotta
have to
game
do
the
it.
System. Yeah.
but in order to keep the people, you have to make good content.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So, I mean, at first, when we first started, I told Kirk I want to do a podcast because I started listening to a bunch of podcasts, and they announced the closure of Disneyland that week. And I was like, okay, this is a good time to jump in. I'm not going to be able to go to Disneyland for a couple weeks. And we can,
Famous last words. Yeah.
right. And it's hilarious.
Every pass holder was like, it's only gonna be a couple weeks.
Literally.
Seriously, that was.
If you listen to our episode 1,
Yeah.
we talk about it, and we're just like, okay, in the end of the month we should be back, and
Yeah, guys,
you
it's
know,
just a pandemic. It's
Yeah.
gonna go away.
Because when they first did it, Disneyland and everybody else, because as a pass holder
Yeah.
at the time, they were sending you emails going, "Listen, it's only going to be for 2 to 3
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
We're
was my girlfriend.
we're gonna
Yeah.
be we're closing the park.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. There's no issues. We still are gonna charge you for next month, but we're gonna hold off." and then you were going, "Okay, cool. Like let's see what's going on." And then you would get another delay, and then another delay.
Yeah.
And then they're still charging you for that pass.
Yeah, and they're like,
And
"Hey
then-
guys, we're trying to keep within restrictions. We're doing our best to
Yeah.
talk to the CDC." Like they would give you updates.
Yeah, and honestly, of the places that were giving you updates,
Yeah.
I have to admit Disneyland was the best because at the time I was
Yeah.
also a pass holder of Six Flags,
Yeah.
and Six Flags was like, "We're closing,"
no.
and then like 5 months later they were like, "We're still closed." And I was like, "All right."
Why does Six Flags sound like that?
That's what they would sound like. For sure.
Like,
You want in? Sucks.
like that was just how it was. They were like, all right, cool. Yeah, we still closed. And I was like, all right, cool. All right, cool. And they were like, oh, we stopped charging you, but we're still closed. Don't worry about it.
Come back eventually.
Yeah. And then I remember when Six Flags finally came back,
They were the
like,
first ones.
Yeah, they were the
Yeah.
first ones to come back, and they go, we're open. But you owe us $135.
Yeah. When I get back in, where's my money?
They were like, hey, where's my money, dude? Same thing, but Disneyland was kind of the same way,
It was.
too.
It was. You know,
How many months did they charge you guys?
it was a couple.
It was a couple months.
Yeah, it was a
before they
couple
said,
months.
Like, oh, we messed up.
Yeah, and then at that point they started completely refunding everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And they would break it up by month, and then whatever, if you're a monthly payment person, they would just send you a check.
Yeah.
And I got a check in the mail.
I thought it was so messed up because I literally bought a season pass December
Oh, you got 3 months.
2019.
Yeah. 2.5.
That doesn't count, man. Look, I'll tell you
I
right
bought-
now.
hold on,
right?
hold on, wait. Hold on.
January 1st, 2020. You wake
I
up.
was so
World War
excited.
III was about to happen. All right,
Bro, I
that's
was
when you
so
knew.
excited, dude.
That's when you knew the worst was gonna
You know,
happen.
you know what the funny thing is? I remember when that happened, and I remember a buddy of mine. I think you might remember him, Thomas. Thomas Puebla.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. He had a season pass. So every week he was like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "All right, cool." And then he would tell me in the middle. He would go in the middle of the week and he'd go, "You want to go Saturday?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's go Saturday."
Those are the good times when you can just show up.
Yeah, well, no,
can't do that anymore.
Because that was right when the reservations started happening, and not many people had jumped on that program yet. So the reservations weren't as glitchy because there was still that whole season pass holders can go in whenever they want, and then they had that budget pass where
That's right. Yeah, the
you could
flex pass.
You had the flex pass
Yeah.
that allowed you to make reservations.
Yeah.
And then there was like certain amount of reservations you can make and everything else. But I remember he was like, "All right, see if you can get a reservation." And I remember getting the reservation. I go, "I got it." He goes, "Okay, cool." We went. We tried to get into. That was right when Rise of the Resistance had come out. And he goes, "All right, let's see if we can get a Rise of the Resistance." Didn't get it. It was 9. I think we
8
had
in the
gotten there-
morning. Yeah.
We had gotten there like at 10 o'clock, and we couldn't get Rise of the Resistance. And he goes, "We're in line for a ride." And he goes, "See if you can get tomorrow. You down to come back tomorrow? Because I'm down to come back tomorrow." I'm like, "Yes, I'm down to come back." I went on my app and I'm like, "All right, I got a reservation for tomorrow." He goes, "Dude, we're gonna get here at 7 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you had to like be on the park to
you
get
better
it. Right?
be-
You had to get into the virtual queue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
into the virtual queue. I remember that it has to be one of the best moments at Disneyland because I remember being in Main Street because when they open
I know
up
exactly what you're gonna say.
when they open up the park early to get everybody kind of in, so that way there's not a huge line in the front. So they start piling everybody in, and everybody's just in Main Street.
Yeah.
COVID had just happened, and they were like, "Let's just pile everybody in," and
Yeah.
COVID's just starting, and they just packed everybody into this one small alley, so that way people can buy and get Starbucks. And I remember we were on there and we scanned each other's passes. So that way, when you get Rise of the Resistance, you can get it for both of you. We're going through, and I remember right when 8 o'clock hit. Because you're hearing
just
7.
yeah.
So, no, but it was funny, though, because you would hear 7:58.
Oh, yeah.
7, like, you start hearing, like, right around 7:50, it starts quieting down.
People are
Quieting down.
focusing.
Yeah, people are starting to focus because they're trying to log in.
There's nothing to focus about though. You're literally just looking at a screen going like,
No,
"Fuck."
dude, I swear.
Yeah.
No, I swear. People are like all over like you can hear in Main Street, just people start quieting down. 7:57, you hear everybody quiet. Like dead. You could have been in the middle and dropped a pen and everyone would have heard it. In the middle of Main Street. And then finally 8 o'clock hits and all you hear and all you see is people going, just refreshing that queue. And then you would just hear spurts of like, yeah, and in your head you're going, all right, that's 1, 2,
Dude,
3.
Squid Games, dude.
Like,
You
you're-
could make a Squid Game show out
Dude,
of
You
that.
could. You totally
Literally,
could.
you're hearing all these like little tiny like screams going all over the place, and then finally you hear my buddy's like, "I'm not getting it, dude. I'm not." We're in the middle of Starbucks and that Starbucks right in Main Street, and then I refresh. It gives it to me and it goes, "You're 57th in line. Go ahead." And I'm like, and I start going, and then I send it through, and my buddy, and I'm like, and he looks at me and he goes, "You didn't?" I go, I got it. And we just started screaming like we were screaming like we just won the lotto.
It's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling.
But we were cursing and we were being very inappropriate.
At Disneyland?
Oh yeah, we were because as soon as he got
Disney security comes by, they're
dude,
like,
as soon as I got it, it was so funny because as soon as I got it, he was like, "F man, hell yeah, yeah, oh man!" And we're yelling at each other very loud, like you can hear us. And then immediately we're like shaking each other. We look behind us, and there is a small family that there's like a mom and her 3 or 4 children, and she's just.
You were being those Six Flag people.
Don't look at those Six Flags people.
And it was so funny because I specifically remember when you got on Rise of the Resistance, it would then be, oh yeah, like we'll tell you half an hour beforehand to get here. Dude, I remember being in California Adventure and they called us early.
And you booked it.
They called us early. And my buddy, and we were over at Toy Story Mania.
Mm-hmm.
We were over at Toy Story Mania.
Pixar Pier, yeah.
Yeah, over at Pixar Pier. We then had to run from Pixar Pier because it's
all the way to get. Dude, that's like 2 opposite ends of
it's
Disneyland.
Like the furthest points of Disneyland.
For sure.
And we're both in the middle of because we're about to get on Pixar Pier, and it literally goes, "Be here in 10 minutes."
Yeah.
Or else your line is forfeit. And me and him drop everything. We're hopping the line. We're trying to get through. We're pushing kids out of the way. We're just running as fast as possible. We finally get there. We get there with a minute to spare. And the guy goes, "Sorry, man, it broke down."
It's funny. Rise of the Resistance is probably the most problematic ride that Disney's ever made. Specifically, the one in Florida, it breaks down on an average of 118 minutes every day.
So I know
think,
why though, because I don't know if this is like public information, but it's because it's the trackless rides that break down more often because of the software glitches they experience.
Yeah.
Because
all the
Luigi's, Luigi's, the Luigi's whatever it's called, the dancing wheel thing.
Yeah.
That one also runs on a trackless system.
Yeah.
And so you're right, it's the Wi-Fi GPS system that they have to work with.
It's like Tire Mania or something like that, right?
No, the tire one is over. It's the dancing cars one now.
Yeah. Okay.
So that runs on a wireless system, and so it breaks down a lot more often. That's what they told us. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah,
because I know it's based on a Winnie the Pooh ride.
That's the Tokyo one.
That's the Tokyo one.
Pooh's Honey Hunt.
Yeah, I wonder if that one breaks down as much, or if it.
I have no idea.
I have no idea because I know that one. That's what it's based on.
Yeah. The whole trackless movement originates from Pooh's Honey Hunt.
Yeah, and which don't get me wrong, it's sick. Yeah. It's a really cool experience. I love it.
I just went on Remy's Adventure, the Ratatouille ride in Walt Disney World. Next level.
They have it, huh?
Yeah. They expanded the Paris Pavilion in Epcot, and they brought it from Euro Disney.
I see.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Talking about that, your kind of content. Do you guys, because we were talking about how you guys title everything and how things blow up for you guys and stuff. When you guys talk about certain things or title your episodes or even for your website, right? Do you guys use clickbaity titles to get things, out there? Or do you guys stick with the, we're not going to deceive you?
Not really. I mean, an example of, so we did, during Halloween and during Christmas, we have special episodes. We call it Tramming Through the Snow for Christmas, and then Tramtober for everything during Halloween.
Okay. Clever, nice.
And the first episode was The Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
Yeah. But then we also have episodes called Remnants of the Past. It really varies. It's not really clickbaity, though. There's been a couple times when we're like, maybe. Like, we did a whole episode on Dumbo.
For
the spinning ride.
Yeah.
So the reason I asked...
For Remnants of the Past, is that kind of like where they've reused old things?
It's like little things in Disneyland that are still there with no explanation. So there's like this little set of stairs that are right by Casey Jr.'s that were...
In Disneyland?
At Disneyland, yeah. And it's where the Skyway, I forget what the original name is, where the Skyway load area was.
You're talking about the People Mover?
No, not the People Mover. The one that would go through the Matterhorn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, the buckets.
Yeah.
But that original, loading area is still there, but hidden by a bunch of trees. So that's where that was an old episode. It was like episode 24 or something like that.
Okay, so the reason I ask is because there was an article. So like, Google will always like recommend you things depending what you look like, right? I don't remember what I Googled Disney wise, but it recommended an article about Remy's ride or whatever, the one that's at Disney World. And then it said that it was shutting down. That was the headline. It's like Remy's, what is it called? Remy's
Ratatouille Adventures.
Something like that.
It's always something with a colon.
Yeah.
That's what we've seen.
Something like that. It's like shutting down. And I'm like, didn't they just bring this attraction over to Disney World like not that long ago?
Yeah.
And I read the article and it's like, oh, it's temporarily shutting down.
I guarantee that was an Inside the Magic.
Yeah, it's something like yeah, probably.
Those guys, they're the epitome of clickbait. Like they do it every single time a ride goes into
Renovation.
Yeah, well, like a yearly refurbishment. They'll be like Indiana Jones shutting down, and we don't know when it's gonna open. And, like super clickbaity stuff.
Yeah.
And we talk trash about them all the time.
I think because I
beef amongst
Yeah.
them.
because I'm really interested to see how Tarzan comes out because they're redoing it and they're putting up.
No, they're being demolished. No.
Yeah, it's being demolished.
What are you talking about?
Tarzan's treehouse.
So
It's being turned
Tarzan's
into-
treehouse was being completely redone, and they just announced last week that it's going to be called the Adventureland Treehouse. And what that is kind of like an homage to the original treehouse of the 60s, the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse. But when a kid looks at it, they're like, "What's Swiss Family Robinson, Dad?"
Yeah.
You know, so they just called it the Adventureland Treehouse. So it's going to have a lot of old stuff like that, and then it's also going to start incorporating this thing. It's called the I'm blanking on it, but it's part of Disney Sea, and it's a bunch of these group of like explorers and adventurers that are all characters at Disney Sea that they're making a Disney Plus show on. Oh. Yeah. And so they're going to incorporate some of that into there, not a whole lot, but just enough to be like, "Oh, look at that." You know,
So now
That's
my
kinda
next
cool.
question would be this, because you talked about a segment on your show, fragments of the past, right? Is that
remnants of the past.
remnants of the past?
Yeah,
right?
that was a whole episode.
That was a whole episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so now because you were making the show based on the consumer's perspective, right? I used to work there, so for me, the information that's given to me is based off of like fun facts that they would want us to talk to.
Guess about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, did you know that the little shop right in front of California Adventure, like as soon as you enter it, is Oswald something, and that's because it's the first character that Disney made. That's like a fun fact that no one would know about, right? So you as a consumer, how do you get that information to then have content for your podcast? Like, where do you find out about these little tidbits, pieces of news?
I mean, honestly, there's this guy on Instagram. His name's Scott Gustin. This guy he's an actual reporter, and he's always breaking like new Disney things coming out. He's very Disney centric, but he's a real reporter. Like KTLA5 uses him as one of their main Disney people, if not the main Disney guy. So we get a lot of our info from him, but honestly, just Instagram.
Just Instagram, and
Yeah.
you guys like dig more into it and kind of
exactly.
Because I feel like a lot of the times a cast member can only tell you so much information, but I feel that information, if it's given to you a certain way, ruins that magic.
Right.
From a consumer's perspective, it's like, yes, this is magical because, like you said, the staircase that is blocked by the trees.
Yeah.
Small piece of information that kind of seems irrelevant, but it's like when you talk about it, you're like, oh, well, why is it there? If no one really knows about it.
There's a few YouTube channels too that I really love. Defunctland's the big one that I love, and because he goes so in depth on everything and weird topics. Like he did a whole episode on the Handwich.
Defunctland is the guy that wears the newspaper boy hat, right? Or
Nobody knows what he looks like.
Oh, then I'm thinking of the wrong
Yeah,
one.
he-
I know. Okay.
He used to say he was Brad Pitt, and would just randomly show Brad Pitt on the screen sometimes, but not anymore. His name's Kevin Perger,
Okay.
and it's also a fake name.
Ah.
Yeah. And then Yesterworld's another one that I really love. They don't come out with content very often. At this point, it's almost once a year. Defunctland almost a year ago, a Fast Pass documentary that was like an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and it is just chef's kiss worth of information. Like he talked to the guy who developed the Fast Pass system, and you know that guy made Fast Pass a household name. So people like that. I mean, real people, credible sources. We don't like really going off a lot of the influencers or anything like that.
Because they're kind of just promoting stuff, and because that's the thing is you're not affiliated with Disney, right?
No.
You guys are just kind of like talking about it and giving your own perspective. Do you even go on the negative side of Disney at some point?
Oh, for sure. We
Yeah.
talk so much trash about Chapek, about their CEO right now. He is an absolute piece of trash. Like the reason why, and we were talking about before the show a little bit, the reason why everything at Disneyland now is DLC, like I said, or every little experience you have to pay a little more is because of this guy. Because that was his mantra as head of the parks. Now he's doing that company-wide and making sure all the shareholders are just happy.
Well,
So now that you've mentioned that, because I do want to segue into something that you brought, Nick, right?
Well, really quick. Speaking of that, because he's been in charge of the park for years.
Yeah, he has.
Not
Yeah.
that, because who was the original, or who was the CEO that stepped down
Iger.
recently? Iger. He stepped down not that long ago.
So, but while Iger was there, Chapek was in charge of the parks.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's what I mean, because there's a couple of, because I've talked to cast members before, and I know a lot of cast members, they gotten rid of attractions because they were harming cast members. Mm-hmm. And
I think they stopped the Innovations building from spinning.
yes,
completely.
Yes, that's true. That I was like, I'm like, what attraction, dude? You're forgetting. I worked there. I've
It's
never
Elsa.
heard
The the Elsa Snowland
in World.
not in World, in California.
They had an Elsa Snow area in California Adventure. It was like a temporary thing.
It was a temporary. Well, it was, the thing was that it wasn't supposed to be temporary.
Oh,
According
okay.
to the cast members, it was supposed to be an actual, like,
You're talking about the backstage building.
No. It was a snow area for kids where it would have a playground, and then it would have fake snow.
It was in Hollywood Land. It was.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was stage 17.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
was working there when that was a thing.
Yeah. So the one reason why it got shut down is because a lot of people were coming down with either bronchitis or they were getting asthma attacks, and the reason being is because what they were
was
using,
cold.
the chemical.
Yeah.
Well, it was, for one, it was cold, but also from what exactly their union was saying was that as all of that fake snow was melting, and because it's an enclosed area, it wasn't properly ventilated, and cast members were breathing it in for their entire shift, and people were breathing in these toxic fumes that were odorless.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And then people were coming down with bronchitis. They were coming
Yeah.
down with because they started noticing that in that area there was a lot of call outs. And they were all of the same things of either strep throat. They were getting bronchitis, asthma attacks. They were having all these different things from cast members. And the only reason I know this is because I was dating somebody that was working that attraction. And she specifically told me, she was like, yeah, our union rep is trying to shut it down. And then eventually it got shut down because of that. And then they said, oh, it was just a temporary.
I completely forgot Disney cast members are union. I was like, wait, are we? Yeah, we are. We
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
So I want to transition over to a topic, right? Because you were mentioning the new CEO of Disney, or the quote unquote newer, right?
Right.
How he's basically doing DLC, if anyone doesn't know, like downloadable content. Basically, you pay for something, it's extra, but it's beneficial in the long run.
Right.
And that's kind of how you should be experiencing the park, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, it's an add-on.
So you brought something, Nick.
Yes.
It is I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
And we want your take on this because, yeah, you are the guy that goes to Disneyland
Right,
a lot.
right.
We want to know the inside experience of it, so we'll make it a mini Disneyland podcast here, right?
Yeah.
So I also brought what Disney just announced for Disneyland. Walt Disney World has had it for 10 plus years now.
Yeah.
But Disneyland just got Magic Bands, and specifically Magic Band Plus, the more expensive version.
Can I see that? Actually?
Sure.
That'd be cool.
It's funny when you brought that and you said it. Every time someone mentions Magic Bands, I keep thinking back about the time when I was working there, and Magic Bands was like a curse word. No one wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be brought over here.
Yeah.
They were so focused on the fact that everything should be on a cell phone, and that's how you should be experiencing the park.
Yeah.
So when you brought that, I'm like, oh, it's real.
Yeah. Now, this to me is the epitome of that DLC. So when we had Disneyland passes, right? When we were pass holders, we got a physical card.
Yes.
That physical card made our lives very easy. You scan it at the front, you give it to your waiter for discounts, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when the keys first came around, the magic keys, you had to use the app, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You had to scan it. It was a pain for waiters, to get the number the number out. It was just annoying.
I feel like I need to do that.
you do, and it lights up.
Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Well, I think it
Come
was.
in, Walt Disney.
It was also because I do remember it being a real pain because also
He's a floating head now.
I know that when the Magic Keys first came out, they came out with the Magic Keys, but not every single station was equipped to handle the Magic Keys.
Yeah.
Well, it would just you would scan it from your phone. It was just like a virtual ticket.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, because now it's a lot easier because they gave them those like mobile scanners and everything else.
Yeah.
And then like but early on, it was the only thing I have to scan was the old card reader.
The actual like UPC.
Yeah, the UPC gun. So I have to take your phone.
Yeah.
I have to take it to the back so that way I can then scan it next to the register where I would usually print out your check. I have to then take you your check back with your phone because they weren't as equipped with like those on-hand scanners.
Yeah.
So
and everything else.
One of the things,
so totally pain. Yeah.
One of the things I noticed about this, you said that this is the epitome of every pass holder, right?
Wanted to get one of these.
I was looking at it. Tell us the details on that about the Magic Band because I'm looking at it and I'm noticing things that are just kind of like they're really onto it. Like
Yeah.
So I noticed your last name is on there, and then there's
You're able to engrave for free.
That's
a
kind of
benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's a button, and I was too afraid to press it because I'm like, what if it deletes everything? And it's like,
I don't think that. I don't think I have that type of fail safe.
A self-destruct on it?
The button is to connect to your phone via Bluetooth.
sure it's not like to call Disney snipers on you.
So I'm assuming that's for fast passes.
It's to connect to your phone so you can experience shows and it sync with the show.
Oh.
Say that again.
So
It'll light up.
my girlfriend told me about this part.
Yeah.
Where if you go on a ride, the thing will vibrate along
yeah.
while you're on the ride.
Or if you're watching World of Color, the colors will sync to World of Color. If you pass by certain 50th anniversary at Walt Disney World statues, it'll vibrate and you can do this over it and the statue talks. There's a lot of little fun things. There's a bounty hunter game in Galaxy's Edge now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
My
So,
girlfriend was doing that. Yeah.
Universal's doing the same thing in Super Mario World, but it's free.
I was hoping you weren't mentioning that because I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And that's the way that you can track in the AR and go through the coins and all this stuff in Universal.
Yeah.
Now, are you able to use this and like put cash into it?
No.
No.
No,
So there's
only in Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Because it's linked to... Okay, so in Walt Disney World, you can use this for entry,
Oh, okay.
for hotel key. This is your hotel key to get into all your rooms.
Okay.
But with that, you can charge things to your room.
Okay.
And yeah, and that's how you can pay for things
So it's
at
more
Walt Disney
it's
World.
more integrated more in
Oh, for
Florida,
sure.
Yeah.
Here,
in California.
it's just for entry. And they're going to start doing it for discounts and stuff.
Okay.
But to me, like I was saying, this is the epitome of DLC because we used to get physical passes. Now you can pay for a physical pass because it's more convenient.
So you just go like this when you
Yeah.
enter. Yeah. Okay.
So now you have to pay $50 to make your life a little more easy.
You said there's different tiers on that. So
There is.
that one in particular, your what is it called?
It's the monorail.
The monorail.
Yeah.
That one. How much did it cost you?
This one I paid $39.99 because I got $20 off.
Okay.
Because I was staying at a Walt Disney World hotel.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
So-
usually it's $60.
All of them are 60.
No. So the special edition ones, like this, the Haunted Mansion one, a couple other ones, are the highest price. The regular price, I believe, is $40. 30 to 40, somewhere around there. That's just a solid color.
So is this so the higher end ones are those like not the features, but is it like a better like wristwatch? I guess essentially.
No, the same thing.
It's this. It looks just like that. You're just paying more.
Yeah, it's like I kind of put it kind of like when you're pulling packs from a trading card game.
Yeah.
These are the the foils, the holographic cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it those?
But I you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it so much if it did more things. Like, let's say you had an appointment or you made a reservation somewhere, and then like the watch would then go. It would vibrate, and then it would say, go to go to the restaurant.
Give
because
me-
you have a reservation, or you could scan it for your fast passes.
You can scan this for fast passes also. But that's the other part of DLC that I want to talk about. So
Okay.
Genie Plus is this new
Oh,
thing.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say
that just got
integrate
got
Genie.
announced maybe about a year ago.
Yes.
And it's now fully integrated into both parks. Before, Fast Pass was free. You had to walk up to a stall, you put your ticket in, you get a physical pass,
Yes.
and you can go to these rides, and you were locked out of Fast Pass, but it was completely free.
Yeah.
Now, to get that functionality, it is going to be somewhere between $20 and $30, depending on if it's a peak day or not. And if you want to get on the big rides, Rise of the Resistance,
Yeah.
or Cars, there's an additional fee on that.
What?
Yes.
I didn't know that was a.
So
yeah.
in Walt Disney
What?
World at Animal Kingdom, I paid $20 for each one of our Fast Passes, our Genie Pluses, and then for Flight of Passage, the Avatar ride, I paid $14 each on top of it.
So they're doing the whole e-ticket thing.
Yeah, exactly. If you're an e-ticket attraction, you are now going to be paying more. It's essentially they're going back to the books. They're going back
But
to the
future.
Yeah.
In the 21st century.
Yeah.
That is dumb.
It is. It is.
You know how you sucker me into this? Give me integrated AI in those wristbands, but I want Disney characters
But
talking.
you know-
Because I want an integrated AI that speaks like Donald Duck, so I have no idea what they're saying. You just kind of hear them go like like that. It's like, oh, it's
Here's
oh,
my
my
thing,
fast
though.
pass to Space Mountain. Yeah, sure.
I have to admit though, is because for Six Flags they have Fast Pass, but it's integrated into the price.
Well, they also have the Flash Pass,
Yeah,
which
that's what it is.
it's expensive. It's like $200 or something.
But the thing is that they have their because
Dude, my wallet just got skinny.
they have their premium because Six Flags now has memberships and also pass holders, which is vastly different.
yeah, it's the one's like a points program kind of thing.
Kind of.
yeah.
So essentially, season pass holders.
So I don't go to theme parks, man.
So season
I'm good.
Well, season pass holders get you into the park, and it doesn't really have too much benefits.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's just 10% off like things, everything else.
I'm sorry. I'm going to go to VR, and then I'll just enjoy my 15 years of VR
that's the thing, though, is
until they
with
start
the-
integrating like DLC into VR.
Yeah.
It's like to enjoy this next feature.
But that was the thing though. For the
Subscription.
for the Inspire key, if you did get it, you then get 30% off of the Genie Plus.
Yes, something like that. But you can only buy Genie Plus if you're in the park. Everyone else, single dayers, can buy Genie Plus and start the reservations before
Which is
they get in the
yeah.
park.
Oh my god, but that's still a lot of money. Like to start.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's interesting that you say that because the idea when I was there was that Disneyland's motto was to encourage pass holders to spend money.
Yes.
Your main attraction, your main income were the pass holders because Disneyland wasn't the theme park to attract tourists, right?
Yeah.
You'd get
That's Walt Disney World.
That's Walt Disney World,
Yeah.
right? So now it's interesting that you say that they're now switching the script and saying it's the tourists that get that get those benefits first. They're able to make those reservations first, so on and so forth.
Single dayers are very much favored now because I think they did this whole argument at when Disneyland reopened. Everyone was paying single day passes, right? There was no such thing as a pass anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody was buying them.
Everyone was buying them. Demand was through the roof. And because of that, the argument is made that there are tourists that go there. There are single day people that go. Yeah. And, I mean, it's kind of true right now. Disneyland is so crowded right now. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's certain days where my girlfriend and I, we walk in and we literally just walk out because we see how crowded it is.
The one that I thought was interesting was because the other day the passes opened up.
Oh, yeah.
The keys finally opened up, and one of my buddies at work, that's the reason why I'm going on Saturday is because one of the guys at work bought it, and he goes, I want to use it.
So when do you
I want to go.
When do you want to go to Disneyland?
Oh god.
Yeah, okay, I'm in the same
But,
boat.
but I thought it was
okay,
so
right,
interesting though because unless you were up to date on Disneyland and you were like following them on Twitter or following them on Reddit, no one knew that the passes were opened up. It was like the dirty little secret that magic keys were available, and no one really knew.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know as a pass holder that they had opened up. Nobody knew. He found out from a friend who then from another friend bought it, and he then heard, oh, it's open. Got online, and I think he got online around like 7:00
At night?
7:00 at night.
Yeah, there was
And
already one or two already sold out, I think.
It was the Believe key, and it was the second to bottom
That were sold out?
that were sold
Yeah.
out. And the only ones that were available was your bottom tier, which no one's gonna buy the bottom tier.
No.
You'd be
Uh,
surprised.
It's called Imagine, and we
Did you
always say...
Just
Imagine
imagine yourself
going?
there.
Yeah.
You're paid for the price, but you're imagining
Could
yourself.
You
Could you
imagine yourself with a better
going?
pass.
Yeah. but it was that one and the
We're giving
Inspire
you
key.
the ability to think about going.
No, but it was the bottom one and the Inspire
the top
key,
one.
and the top one, and but by the end of that night, by midnight, all the passes were gone.
Yeah.
So that was it. It was gone.
I think what's going on is that Disney has a certain set amount of key holders that they're allowing right now. And a lot of people didn't renew because of the price increase.
Yeah.
So they just opened up all the people who didn't renew.
Yes.
So because of that, it sold out in a day.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but I thought it was so funny because Mandy was telling me
Yeah.
so his girlfriend, her brother had a key.
Yeah.
He let it lapse.
Yeah.
So he paid up all the way up to where he needed to, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to renew. I'm just going to in January I'm just going to buy another one."
Yeah.
And his girlfriend was going, "That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Like like the next time you're going to do this, you're going to have to, you're going to have to wait."
Yeah.
You and your girlfriend no longer have passes, and you're probably not going to have passes for at least a year to a couple of years.
There's a couple things there. Disney is scaring current pass holders to never not renew. You always want to renew.
No, that's
It's for sure. Yeah.
That's
and,
a for sure thing.
And if you
believe it.
don't renew, we're going to open these passes up for a day.
Listen, man. Listen, all right? You're gonna renew, all right? You want to renew?
Well,
Dude, I say I have a toxic relationship with Disneyland.
No, that's what it is.
Yeah.
No, it
That's-
is.
but honestly, that.
What is Rene gonna say?
Sorry, Renee. What were you gonna say?
Jesus.
I was just gonna say no, because I mean, like, it's a relationship, and I see how everyone does it, and money wise, and I'm already financially not stable right now, in just life, and just having that Disneyland stuff, like, it's just extra stress that I don't want to worry about.
For sure.
So that's why my girlfriend she's a huge Disney fan. She has a pass holder. Her and her mom go, but then she keeps talking to me like, "Hey, babe, like, I want to
one.
go with you.
Yeah.
Get one." And I'm like, "No, like I don't want it." Like, there's multiple reasons. It's financially. I hate the crowds. I hate Disney fans. I'm not a huge. It doesn't sell to me. That's the
Right.
thing.
That's the problem that I have. Because Andy's also like that. She wants a Disney pass. She told me last night, she's like, maybe next year when, like, after we're married and everything. And I'm just like, sure.
just
Like,
start
I don't want to
laughing.
break her dreams because she loves Disney. I love Disney.
Yeah.
I work there. I enjoy it. Sometimes I miss working there.
Yeah.
I don't miss management, but I love the experience and being able to interact with people. But I'm on that same boat.
Yeah, everyone, like, the crowds is the biggest turnoff for me.
Yeah.
And just seeing how everyone is, because the last time I went to Disneyland was November of last year.
Okay.
And I was pretty much done after 4 hours. And I
Yeah.
was like, and I was already much into Disneyland, and we were just barely going to California Adventure. I like California Adventure a little bit more because it has Marvel in there and stuff like that. I have more fun at California Adventure because I can just honestly sit there and just enjoy everything around me.
Right.
I thought it was because you could
yeah.
drink.
That too.
Yeah.
And,
That's why I enjoy it.
and but Disneyland, I don't know. It's just I just see it's so interesting to me how Disney people are. Like, I've seen a woman bring her look like a 2-month baby.
Oh,
that
for
still
sure.
looks like it's not even aware it's alive. It's
Yeah.
still like help me. Yeah, and it's like it's the first Disneyland trip. That doesn't even know where it's
it's
at.
That kid gets in free, so it doesn't matter.
It's so funny because my sister, she was telling me that she's on that same boat. She's like waiting for like to just kind of be like,
When the
at a
kid's
certain
more aware,
time,
yeah.
right? Yeah, like when they're more aware.
Yeah.
But going back to that whole like experience, right? I understand why those bands exist.
Right.
Can you show the camera your credit thing? That right there, right? I understand that. That's cool, dude. I'm wearing a smartwatch.
Yeah.
That's a cool experience,
Yeah.
right? So I understand the idea that what's his name,
Bob Chapek.
Bob Chapek. I understand his idea.
So this right here was actually developed under Iger
Okay.
over 10 years ago, and they spent $1 billion on this.
Dang.
But there was no real direct return that you can, put in a spreadsheet and be like, this made this much money. And it took some convincing, but he eventually said yes.
But that's because he was selling you an experience. Because
Exactly.
I feel like Iger, when he was in charge, the idea was to sell you an experience without making you think about how much money you were spending.
Yeah.
Right? And it worked because how many people were spending the monthly payments for the highest tier pass to go to Disney? It was when I had the pass, you go in there, you take a walk, 4 hours, people watch, ride or two, peace out. You're done. That was it. Nowadays, the way I see it is that you know you're buying into experience. Like if you are like Rene and I, for example, right? How cool is it to walk around with that credit, the metal credit thing?
It would be awesome. Yeah,
Right?
just kind of like just load it up and just kind of be like.
Oh yeah. I'm playing a bounty hunter. Here, take my credits.
Well, that,
You're
that
in
was
that character.
That was the cool thing that because when I first went, I ended up going with a buddy of ours, Adrian Alcaraz, and he had shown me these because he goes, "There's only one place in Bakhtu to actually go buy these, so you have to go to it's connected right next to the droid shop, and when you go in, he goes, it's $150, and I go, why is it $150? Like what is so special about it?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, it's a metal, and the thing is that it's a metal gift card that has $100 on it, and you can refill it, and you can just keep on refilling it.
Yeah. So you're
And-
paying to fill it up as the 150.
No,
right?
you're paying $50
Yeah.
for
To
a
get a-
slab of metal.
You're paying
Yeah.
$50 for a $100 gift card.
Yeah, because that makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
I get it.
it makes sense. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It makes sense,
But
it's just you and I are woke.
No, but here's, well, no, because that was the interesting thing about it
The
was
smoke cleared.
well, no, because what he had told me, because this is how he sold me on it, because I originally was like, that sounds dumb.
Kirk bought one, by the way. He has
Kirk bought one.
Yeah. Yeah. He has
Actually, I thought it was funny because I was talking to Adrian and his girlfriend. They buy one every single time they go.
one. What the heck?
What?
They buy one every single time they go because she wants to drill holes into it and make like ornaments.
I thought you meant like
Out
a
of them?
dog tag
Those
or
are
something.
expensive ornaments.
That's an don't get me wrong, it's a very
Yeah.
expensive ornament, but like that's
Their
why
thing.
that's
Yeah.
their thing.
Yeah.
They go to Disneyland all the time.
That's
That's
very not sketchy, but like very like because drilling holes in that. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
not
know
only-
where not to drill a hole in.
not only that, but also like it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's like it's
It has weight to it.
It's
Yeah.
got some weight.
Put that
to
thing
it.
in a
like a-
sock,
like a
whack
drill
someone, they're
bit,
dead.
yeah.
You could, and I the reason why he sold me on it is because he goes, it's a credit. It's it's $50. You're already gonna spend $100 while you're here. It's a $50 credit. It has Black Spire on it. It says Black Spire, and it's pretty cool.
And
You're
when you're in Galaxy's Edge and they're like, that'll be 39 credits.
Yeah.
It's so cool to pull that on and be like, here's my
and
credits.
Here's my credits, and then they tap it, and then
Yeah.
and then you walk away. That's really cool. I really enjoyed that
guess the novelty.
experience.
Can you
on it.
imagine Nick just like with the biggest smile on his face go like
You have no idea how big of a smile it was when somebody asked me for I think it was like 30 credits, and I was like, absolutely
For a drink?
absolutely. Yes. No, it was for a holocron. I bought my holocron with it, and then like I think this still has like $12 on it.
That's a
What you're
churro.
saying.
It's like a churro.
That's a churro.
I got like a churro or something. But I thought it was really interesting. But the thing is that I was really disappointed on the fact that the experience ended when I left Bakhtu.
Yeah, as soon as you walk out, it's like, okay, that's a gift card.
Yeah, this is a gift card now.
Yeah.
And but not only that, but also it felt inconvenient to use it outside.
Oh, yeah,
of
for
Bakhtu.
sure. For
Because
Really?
I walked over when I was in Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
And I went over to one of the kiosks.
Yeah.
I mean, to one of the people that were like selling churros and stuff like that. And I was like, "Hey, can I get a drink?" And then she was like, "Do you have any other way of like paying?" and I was like, I was like, "Yeah,
That
but
won't work, bro.
no." She was, but her rationale was made sense. She was like, she goes, "Listen, my computer's been acting up all morning, and those haven't been reading correctly. Is there any
got a slap to reality, dude.
Yeah, so she was like, every single time I've been scanning,
You left Star Wars Land, all right?
she's like, every single time I try to scan them, they haven't been reading right. Is there any other way you can pay? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And I ended up like paying with a card. But the magic really died there because when you're in Bakhtu, they all scan. It would have made sense. If,
Wake up, Nick! You're 29 years old. You're not 12.
I see. If
I
I,
wanna
was a
be
cast
12!
member, I would have been like, we don't accept credits.
They have to. You have to
No,
do
but-
that.
Yeah.
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 Honestly, this lady, she was just like, sorry, we don't accept credits.
She wasn't gonna deal with your BS.
She wasn't. She looked at my metal card
As
and
soon
went.
as he's like, you don't accept credits.
She was like, yeah, she was like, sorry, we don't accept Imperial credits here. In which also, that would have been hilarious too. She
Yeah.
would have said that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
You would
accept
have,
Imperial
yeah,
credits.
you would have been like, okay.
But here was the other thing that would have been interesting because I was talking about it because last time I went a couple months ago was I remember going and they still had the same one. And I go, that makes no sense to me. Because if you wanted me to keep on buying this, I would have changed them up every couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have went, okay, cool. Here's a Bach 2 one.
Yeah.
Then 3 months later, we're going to have an Imperial one. And then we'll have a rebellion credit, Mandalorian credit.
I just thought, like, what if like 5 people are holding it, all dropping at once?
Oh,
You're like,
geez.
buy that $200 on it. Which one is it?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
All right. So
That's such a. I tried. I also paid for parking with this, which was hilarious.
you're
Yeah.
just stop.
It was so funny paying for parking with this because I
You're
literally
done.
I walked
You're
up,
done, dude.
As soon as I drove up, the guy was like,
grow up.
it was so funny because the guy I drove up and the guy was like, oh, that's $12 because that was when I had the Believe key, and I literally went. And I handed this to him, and I just saw him.
You're
like,
being
look
that
at
guy.
it. I saw him look at it, and he was just like,
He's
"God damn it."
contemplating how he's gonna tell him no. You know, he's like,
No, but he was the messed up part.
Oh
It
my
took me so much
God.
longer because he didn't
Can
have
you
the
even
scanner.
read those numbers?
He didn't have the scanner, so I saw him like this,
You were.
and he was typing in
man.
the gift card, like the numbers on the
Yeah.
gift card, and then he goes, "All right, man, here you go," and he gave it to me, and I go, "I'm not using this like ever again."
if there's no gun to go,
Stop.
Yeah.
I felt
Stop.
so bad.
You're done.
so
I'm
bad.
done with you, Nick. Go back to Disneyland. You're one of those people, all right? So I'm going to ask you this, okay? Because one of the things that
I would have been.
Stop.
I would have been no.
Just hits it out of my head.
I'm just picturing Nick just trying to pay with that stupid metal credit right
Dude,
there.
I did it
Just-
I did it so many times.
Stop. All
I
right.
feel like you would pull that out in downtown Disney.
I
Yeah,
did.
you would.
I did.
It did.
I did.
I'm never going to Disneyland.
Okay,
with
where'd
I'm
you pull
done.
that out
No.
on?
Huh?
Did it work?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a stupid metal gift card.
yeah.
I literally.
the
In
barcode.
Star Wars land.
It was so funny though because I walked over to I think Ballast Point
Oh.
and I tried paying for something there.
You,
and
you
they were-
put it in the little waiter thing.
the same thing.
Here's the checkbook. Giant metal slab on it.
You know what the worst part was is I tried using it at Ballast Point and then the lady was like, "No." She was like, "I'm sorry, you can't use that here." And I'm
God,
like,
man.
I'm like, "Why not?" She's like, "Oh, technically Ballast
Nick
Point
is the
isn't-
definition
isn't
as
part
to
of
why
Disney."
it's a good thing we're dating. You know, because like
Why we're dating? Yeah.
no, not why
He's
we are
finally
now.
out. He's finally out. Do it.
I know. As soon as he said,
imagine
I was
just
like,
you
watch.
going on a date with someone, right, and you pay with that stupid metal card right there. Your impression. That's your impression right there.
Actually, that doesn't work. Though. It's a big, it's a good size bill. He's like, yeah, you know, this is gonna work. Just like, and then the waiter comes up. Nope.
Your direct deposit check goes directly to that.
I thought it was so funny just because I remember when I was trying to pay, I was like, just
I'm just gonna drop that right there.
it kind of feels like the metal Apple card,
Oh yeah.
like that
Yeah.
that metal Apple card. I was like, yeah, but it's heavier, it's stockier.
Sure. All right. So the question I wanted to ask you, all right, before we got in this whole,
fun of Nick.
tangent, making fun of Nick. So one of the last questions I wanted to ask you was if these little DLCs that you call them, right, do they ruin the experience for other people? Because from my personal experiences, my problem with Disney right now is that they have so many exclusive items
Yeah.
specifically tied to the park. I had the opportunity, thanks to John, one of my best friends, to go into Star Wars Night, is it? Mm-hmm. Right? We went into Star Wars Night, and it was cool because they brought in all the special characters. You got to experience the Star Wars atmosphere. It was all great. But there were people that were buying the exclusive lightsabers. I think they had the Ahsoka one. They had like it was like a concept art lightsaber as well.
Yeah.
But you could only get them in the park. that kind of ruins it for me
It
because
does.
it's like I'm a Star Wars fan. I know about Star Wars. I know the little tidbits as well, right? But then there's these shut up. But then there's these people that have that money that are able to buy it. And like, oh yeah, no, this was a concept lightsaber from this show, or it was like supposed to be worn by this character, but they never ended up using it, but they sold it here, and it's kind of like it brings up that ego boost.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, think about how much they spent
Yeah,
just to
exactly.
get in there. They're at least $400 or $500.
Yeah,
But a lot of them, which is kind of annoying, are resellers, which is it's even worse.
yeah,
I mean, Disney does their best to limit either those special things that they're selling, or if they find out that you're a reseller getting a pass discount, you get your pass revoked automatically.
is that a thing now?
Yeah,
Okay.
and you don't get a refund for the pass.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So
And I would imagine you would have to pay the whole thing up front.
yeah. The merch in general is just not really for me. I don't really buy merch at all. I spend way too much money on food, but merch-wise, this was probably the only thing I bought in a long time.
But it makes sense because I feel like a lot of pass holders or people that just go on a regular basis, they have their thing now.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of unique aspect to it because you have I have a friend, her name's Elia. She collects the ears for Disneyland. So she's a huge collector of the Mickey ears.
What's really interesting, and I forgot who brought this up to me, but if you look at any old pictures of Disneyland, 70s, 80s, 90s, nobody's really wearing Disneyland merch.
No, and that's the thing that it's the thing now.
It's a thing now.
Yeah.
If you don't go in a Disneyland, spirit jersey, what are you doing? I don't really, buy into that myself, but I know a lot of people who definitely do.
Is it a bad thing or is it kind of like whatever? Because Elia collects the Mickey ears, Mandy collects the backpacks,
She gets the backpacks
lounge
and
flies?
sometimes
Yeah.
Oh, man.
the lounge flies.
Yeah. And sometimes ears. It depends on the character.
When they had when it was Hasbro's that had the lightsaber elites, I collected those, the lightsabers, right? So you have like your people
do.
that collect the spirit jerseys. That's another one,
Yeah.
for example.
I
Right?
go for the food.
Yeah, even Funko Pops.
Funko Pops.
Yeah,
too.
they were. I remember when they released like the special, not Yeti, the Abominable Snowman.
Yeah.
There was a line that went through all of downtown Disney. So they know what they're doing. I mean, when it comes down to it, and we always say this on the show, Disney is a business.
Yes.
And they are making money, and they will make as much money as possible on every single person.
Yeah.
So the fact that they are doing that now is just kind of like, okay, I get it. It's just you have to choose whether to allow yourself to do it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain times that I'm like, geez, am I really spending this much money right now? Like, I question myself, but I still do it. But it's my choice to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've pulled the veil out
Yeah.
and have revealed more colors about Disney. But those people that are more on top of it, the ones that have that Disney lifestyle,
Yeah.
they now have to be more transparent about it. This is my life. This is what is me. I live Disney.
It's unfortunate because they are pricing people out
yeah.
with a lot of stuff. Like, as an example, maybe like 2-3 months ago, I did a World of Color dessert package. Okay? All this is just a plate of desserts, and you get to sit down and watch World of Color.
Okay.
$72 a person.
No, switch that. It's a plate of desserts, okay-ish desserts,
Exactly.
in a prime, quote unquote, location to watch it.
Yeah, that's how
elevated.
that's how the app
Yes.
describes it.
I thought it was so funny the day I went with Louis Meza to go to Disneyland, and I went with his girlfriend, I went with his stepson, I went with his brother and her and everything else.
Careful
Dude,
talking about Lewis because he's probably showering right now.
Yeah, he probably is showering.
I've seen his brother there like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, his brother loves Disneyland.
Yeah,
They both
I
love
see him
Disneyland.
and his wife,
Fiance.
Okay, I see them. It was kind of creepy at one point when I was like, Jesus, that's George. That's George.
I keep hitting him.
Yeah.
The other Meza brother.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny though because I remember going and we went into the cantina over inside of
Olga's?
Olga's Cantina, and once we went inside, Lewis was sitting there and he goes, "I want the flight of beer, the one that comes inside of the Rancor teeth." And he was looking at it and he was like, "Oh man, like, do I want it? Do I want it?" And then he was like looking at his girlfriend and like Nicole was looking at him going like, "You better not. Like, please don't." And then he was looking at it and he goes, I'll sleep on the couch tonight. And like it was so funny because he was sitting next to me. Nicole was sitting next to was standing over to his next to his brother, and we were at the bar. And he goes, "Can you get a Rancor flight and put it behind the bar, so that way when I leave I can just grab it." And then like the guy was like packaging it up, and then he was like showing it to him and everything else. And then she came around and she goes, "Did you just buy the Rancor like flight?"
Yeah.
It's $150.
It was
or more.
It's $175.
Yeah.
So you get to take it home.
You got to take it home.
But you get to take it home,
Oh, okay.
and it's a full like it's huge.
It looks really cool.
It's really cool because the only thing I would have liked more if it wasn't ceramic.
Don't look this up because if you're gonna look it up, I'm gonna see it and be like, yeah, totally worth it. And I don't want to be a Nick.
The only thing is that
All right.
I do wish it wasn't ceramic. 'Cause for
Is it
one,
ceramic?
It's all ceramic.
I want it.
It's all ceramic.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
Oh, that
Yeah.
is actually.
That's what sold him on it because it's all ceramic. It looks like wood. The Rancor teeth are super sick. What was it like? Those are also like ceramic and
Yeah, it's where the shot, where like the flight is, the
Yeah.
the tasters are.
and then it gives you, and then you could choose 4 beers from it. You can do everything. And it's a decent size amount of, which also terrible idea because then we went back to his house after he bought this, and then he goes, "All right, cool. We're gonna take shots out of the Rancor,
the Rancor teeth.
And that was a terrible idea because we were filling it.
Pretty good.
It's really smart the way they do it now because if you notice on any of the newer rides that you get on, there is no more exit through the gift shop. The gift shop is located by the exit.
Yes.
So it is now a psychological thing when you exit and you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should go check that out. The chances of you buying something because you chose to go in there are now higher based on being forced a gift shop like on the outside of Star Tours. So if you go on Web Slingers right now and you get out of the ride, you see the gift shop across the way. You can see it, but you can choose whether or not to go into it or not.
That's interesting because I'm trying to think of the layout for Batuu.
Mm-hmm.
If you exit out, because Rise of the Resistance is on the outskirts of
It is.
Batuu.
Yes.
It is.
You have to walk a good.
Into the little marketplace area, but there are a little bit of kiosks outside of the exit, but it's still not as egregious as Star Tours.
Yes.
I do feel and that's why I really did like Bach 2 more than I liked Avengers Campus. Just because I really did feel like it was a different land. It separated perfectly.
It doesn't feel like Disneyland.
It doesn't feel like Disneyland when you walk in. Like you go on the ride, yes, but as soon as you come out, you see legitimate stores. You have that shopping alley that's all right there. You have what was it, Boba Fett's throne that's sitting there, and you have all these like different areas. Whereas when you go into, Avengers Campus, I go into the ride. As soon as I come out, it's a gift shop or it's like 5 feet away from a gift shop or anything like that. Like merchandise is just kind of thrown in your face. And that's the reason why I really like hanging out inside of Batuu or Black Spire is just because I feel like I'm not in Disneyland. I feel like I'm at a Star Wars
They
park.
did that. That design is meant to be that way because even though it's by a freeway, everything is enclosed and it's enveloped, so you can't hear any of the outside stuff. And then the sound that they have outside with the TIE fighters flying over, it just sells you on the fact that you're immersed in there. You're not in Disney. The moment you walk out and you're in New Orleans Square or whatever it is, you're like, oh yeah, I'm in Disney.
Yeah.
But when you're in there, it's not. Actually, fun fact, because I know you wanted to hear the interview story about how I almost made it. I'll use that as an endpoint. But fun fact, we actually got the opportunity to sign the what is it called, steel beam that was going to be placed on the highest point
that's cool.
on Disney.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it's still there. No one took it out because I have it on Instagram. I quoted the youngling that dies in episode 3. So now forever, you know this story.
Skywalker.
Yeah, there's too many of them. What do we do now? That quote
What are we going to do?
will forever be at the highest point of Batuu.
That's awesome.
So
That's
now
awesome.
from now on, that kid will always be up there.
I'm not gonna lie. I really did think you were just gonna. I thought you were gonna put punch it
No, it's
Or
too
like-
simple. I wanted something. I wanted something a little sad.
or energize.
I should have done that. Dang it!
I've heard
like-
theories that kid is actually, what's his name? Stellan Skarsgård in Andor.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard theories. It's not proven.
That's interesting.
But if that's the kid, that would be, that whole thing came full circle.
Funny thing is, that's actually George Lucas' son.
No way.
That's George Lucas'
I
son.
thought George Lucas' son was the one who flipped over and like
That-
fought
he has-
Anakin.
He has,
had two sons.
He has 2 sons in it,
So it was the one who.
and,
jeez.
he has an older daughter.
So I
who's
quoted
also
George
in it,
Lucas'
too.
son.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
dope.
So
didn't know that.
George Lucas had like a little tiny son. He was there. George Lucas is in episode 3 as well because he's one of the senators with his oldest daughter, and then his older son, his middle child, was the
flippings.
was the Jedi that was outside when Bail Organa lands.
Yeah.
And he's like, and like you see the Jedi running, and then you see him like flip, and he starts like doing
Yeah.
everything else. That's George Lucas's second oldest son.
Gotcha. We're running out of time for this issue, but
Yes.
you wanted to hear why I wasn't able to work in Star Wars,
Yeah.
right? So it was
love the
a
story.
admission process, basically. I'll just kind of give you like a short-handed story about it. It was you had to submit an application for it. You had to have been there for a couple years already, and then they told you that if you have like seniority at Disneyland, you'd basically restart the moment you went into Batuu. Like you'd start from square one, but they would consider your seniority for like a lead position or whatnot, right? So because I was already a lead and I was one of the youngest leads there, because I became a lead for World of Color 9 months into basically working
Got
there.
it.
They said like, yeah, sure, we'll give you an interview, and it was a panel of 3 different people. I think it was a manager from California Adventure, a management from like HR, something like that, and then one of the managers that would be transferring over to Star Wars Land. So they asked you the simple questions: what would you do in case of like cast member conflict? How would you immerse people in the magic and stuff like that and sell it? The obvious questions that they would give you to try to see if you'd be a good applicant. The last question was given by a manager who was going to be taking over for Batuu. And his question was, and they don't like me for this reason, what would you prefer to captain? Or it's like, what would you prefer to captain, or what was like the fastest ship?
Yeah, what's the fastest?
What was the fastest ship?
Fastest ship.
The Millennium Falcon or the USS Enterprise?
Oh.
So here's the thing.
Before he finishes, you're interviewing for a job to
At
work in Star Wars land.
All this is going out the window.
Yeah.
all right?
And
because I have to stick true to facts.
No.
No, this is
You could
factual.
have been.
I don't
You
care.
knew the answer too. That's the
You
thing.
knew the answer. You knew what they were
No,
looking
the
for.
answer, okay, was the USS Enterprise.
So that's what
I'm
he
not gonna lie. I can't. Not in good consciousness.
Yeah.
In good consciousness, I have to say that the USS Enterprise is the fastest ship.
Is so warp speed versus light speed?
Yes.
That's what it comes
So
down
that's
to.
what I said.
Yeah.
Because I said to him, obviously it's the USS Enterprise. And he goes, oh, but you're gonna be going to Star Wars land, man. Like, come on, like you really gonna say that to a Star Wars fan? And I'm like, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, all right? You can't tell me that warp speed is theoretically faster than light speed, because light speed is capped at the speed of light.
Dude,
Right.
Warp speed is the movement of space and time through point A to point B. And that's putting it simply,
The
right?
greatest thing is that he tried to give you an out.
I don't
he knew
He
you were good for the opportunity. This question really killed you.
Like
man.
I love
Yeah.
the idea of him going like, yeah, but like you really think if like it's a Star Wars fan, like you
Yeah.
would say
Would-
that?
would you say that
Like
to a
would you
Star
say
Wars
that to a
fan?
Star Wars
Yeah.
fan? And I just think it would be
No,
so.
I just act dumb. But that's the thing, is that you're asking me a question. What's faster, the Enterprise, all right, or the Falcon?
He's asking you because he knows for a fact a person in the park is going to ask you this
Yeah.
dumb question.
Yeah.
And what are you going to say when
So
that
What would you have done?
happens?
See, I had a similar situation, but I was working at Apple. I was interviewing for Apple.
Linux or iOS?
Honestly, it was like Windows versus Mac OS. And I'm like, honestly, Mac OS is the superior operating system and Windows is garbage. And she was like, yeah, we don't talk bad about anybody here at this position.
That's a straight up lie.
That's
I was like, okay,
That's a lie.
all right.
Turn the tables on them. I think Linux is superior. Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
I just thought
Ubuntu.
it was so funny because as soon as he told me that, I was like, you could have been
working at
you
Star
could have been
Wars land.
working at Star Wars Land. You would have been there the day that George Lucas opened the park.
Yeah.
I would've been a
everyone
liar.
was there.
Huh?
Yeah.
I would have been a liar.
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, you would have been a liar with an awesome seat.
Nah, I'm good.
Like, I'll lie to get an awesome seat. That's fine with me.
Christian, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up this issue?
I felt like I was being pretty negative on the parks.
No,
overall,
no,
I just
we
want
were.
I just want people to be more aware about how the situation is right now. But don't get me wrong, I still have a fantastic time when I go.
Yeah.
It does help. I was telling Nick that it helps that I live in Anaheim now.
Yeah.
So I'm able to pop in and pop out pretty easily. Reservation system sucks. I hate it. But when I do have the reservation, and like I said, if I don't feel like actually going, I walk in and walk out, and it really only takes like 20 minutes of my day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
For you.
Yeah, for me.
For
exactly.
you. For other people, that's an
It's a
hour
drive.
trip.
Yeah.
That's an hour trip.
no, it's 20 minutes to get to Disneyland, half an hour to get in line
Well, 'cause
Yeah.
you're-
and get in the park.
But also remember, if you miss 3 reservations, you're blacklisted for what is it, 90 days?
I think it's if you miss 3 within 90 days, you're blacklisted for 30 days. Yeah.
So you can't make a reservation.
But I still we talk about it on the show a lot. I have these like little pockets of magic where I go on a day that I wasn't expecting to have a great time, and I have a fantastic time.
Yeah.
I went this past Thursday. I met up with my girlfriend, and I met up with 2 other couples that we're friends with, and us 6 just had the time of our life.
Yeah.
Time of our life. So that's why I still have a pass, and that's why I'm in this toxic relationship with Disney.
To kind of go with that defense as well, if you don't love, if like you only make fun of things if you truly do love them.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that's the whole point. It's, we're, no matter how much we want to make fun of Disney, we're tied to it as comic book fans. We love Marvel. Yeah. We go watch the MCU stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
We are huge fans of Star Wars. There's not a moment where we don't think about, you have a Darksaber waiting for you right there.
Yeah.
And I bought a Darksaber too.
Right.
And got into debt.
Right.
But you know what? It's
I
worth
went
it.
into debt for it.
Yeah.
It took me a while to pay it off. But is it worth it? Yes. I'm not going to argue. But that's the thing is that you, even though it does feel like we did talk negatively about it, you still come out of it having a good experience.
Oh, yeah,
There's still
for
a
sure.
lot of stuff that you do feel
For
you
sure.
can enjoy. And that's the thing is, let's go ahead and wrap it up with this.
Yeah.
Even though you do have those stories to tell, have you ever had any kind of like interactions with people saying like, oh, you're too negative about Disney and stuff like that?
We have. We talk about this guy. We've talked about him before in the past. It was this guy who he would message us. We get a lot of people who will message us like long messages.
That used to be us in the early beginnings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we reply to every single one. We talk about it on the show. We'll mention whoever it is if they want to be mentioned. We had this one guy who we have a separate show, which we have Tramon and we have Tramon Plus. And Tramon Plus is whatever we want it to be. Okay? Whether we talked about Nope one episode. We just reviewed Nope. We talked about Spider-Man No Way Home. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Kirk did one by himself. He didn't want to put it as an official Tramon episode because I wasn't there. So he did an episode on the Foodie Guide by himself, and he called it a Tramon Plus episode. We had a guy who came in on Instagram and was questioning, why are we talking about non-Disney content? You shouldn't be talking about this.
What?
Yeah, and we were like,
It's not on the same platform that you talk Disney.
Yeah.
It's a separate show.
you can choose to listen to it or not.
Is it a Patreon or
No.
is it on the same channel?
It's on the same channel, different playlist.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So
Yeah.
it was just this whole thing, and he started talking about why we were praising the reskin of Splash Mountain right after that. And we were like, well, it's, in this day and age, having that kind of like racist context behind what that ride actually was about Song of the South and everything. It's good that they're now celebrating that culture, the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And he was saying, no, they shouldn't change it. It's not racist, all this stuff. And we were like, okay, dude, like, if you don't agree with us, that's fine. That's totally fine. And then he started being accusatory of us, calling him a racist. It was this whole thing. So we ended up having to, block the guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was really the only negative interaction we've ever had with anybody.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for them to change Huckleberry Finn.
Are you talking about the Frodo one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one with Elijah Wood?
No.
Oh, no, the movie?
No. I'm talking.
That's a movie.
No,
There's a movie.
Yeah,
of
there's
that,
a no, but I'm talking about the what was it?
You're talking about Tom Sawyer's Island?
Yeah, Tom Sawyer's Island.
Tom Sawyer's Island is Pirate Slayer now.
Because
Because
it
of
Pirate
been
Slayer?
a pirate slayer for
Yeah.
a while.
I
And-
didn't know that.
they have Davy Crockett's canoes, but I don't know if Davy Crockett's inherently racist.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
Something
Give
will
it
come
another
out, yeah.
15 years.
Yeah.
Someone will dig something up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
just
skinned too many raccoons for his hat.
Nah,
It's over. Cancel it.
In all fairness, he just insulted Hispanics, so it's fine. I mean,
Not on
that's-
Elon's Twitter.
Yeah,
On
the
Elon's
only-
Twitter,
the only-
everyone is not canceled.
The only
anymore.
thing that the only people that he hurt were indigenous people and Hispanics. So no one. Really
There you
And
go.
you
about
just
that, yeah.
sped up the timeline. Now it's 5 years until
There
it
you
gets
go.
canceled.
Someone's gonna be like, "Is this true?"
Before we wrap it up, Christian, where can people find you? And any shows that you want to link or promote or anything.
You can find me, my personal Instagram at I'm Rainwater.
Okay.
You can find Tramin at Tramin Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, pretty much everywhere. You can go to our website, tramin.com. That's the only one that doesn't have the podcast in it. New shows. I mean, we come out with a new show every Wednesday. And this next one's going to be a Thanksgiving episode. I think it's going to be called Gone and Grateful. And last episode we did was my Walt Disney World episode. People really liked it. Like my insight on, the other side of the country. See how everything's going over there. And yeah. We're going to be doing this until one of us gets tired of it. But so far we're going pretty strong. 100 and we're almost, I think, the same as you guys. You're
24.
We're at 138.
Technically,
I think-
you're ahead of us by a couple issues because we have 2 annuals every year. So we're at 128.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
128.
But
So
it goes so fast. Man.
it
Like,
does, yeah.
Yeah,
You
like-
blink and you're like, oh my God. We're already halfway through.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, halfway through year 2. God. Man.
Yeah.
Christian, thank you so much for joining us here at Keeping Up with the Nerds.
Thank you guys for having me.
No,
Yeah,
it's
it was
been a
fun.
pleasure. You're great. Fun skit.
Yeah.
Which people should go check out if you guys have made it. Recommend it to people. Tell them we work hard on this, and you were awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you guys for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching Keeping Up with the Nerds. You guys can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and at our website at keepingupwiththenerds.com. If you're listening to this on our audio platform, go check us out on YouTube at Keeping Up with the Nerds, where you guys can see us and our beautiful faces, and maybe even the bits where Nick was throwing around that stupid little piece of metal that he calls a credit,
That's how you know I'm serious.
And as always, go check out our audio platforms. You guys can listen to us there. If you guys are working out, on a drive, taking a walk, whatever it may be.
In the shower like Mesa.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't us this time, Lewis.
Yeah.
We all know. It's a bit now, dude. I feel sorry.
Basically.
With that said, we have one more week of guests with issue 125.
Yes.
And we won't spoil who it is yet, but keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Christian, thank you again so much for joining us. Are we ready to wrap this up?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Real quick. So it's going to be this way, and then you will say your name at the end.
Cool.
Sound good? No mess ups.
This has been Keeping Up with the Nerds, issue 124. My name is Nick Valero.
Rene.
Brian.
Christian Rainwater.
Signing off from Undercity Comics. We'll see you all next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, guys.